Renars podcast.
Chris Walker in the house. Let's give it a little round of applause. I got everything, bro.
Oh, you guys are too kind. Oh, no, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Chris Walker, who I know now. How long do I know you? Now I'm just thinking it's since I've been coming to Bali. But I remember you as the person who I always have to get somewhere very much higher, like on some staircase or something, so I can have a conversation with you, like eye to eye.
Yeah.
You know, very tall person. If you guys can't see it, like he's what is that? 6'5"?
Yep, you got it.
Boom, right there.
I can't believe he knows that. Aren't you a centimeter human being? 196 centimeters.
There you go. So those who know in centimeters. One of the main things I know about you is that you do yoga, you teach yoga. And how about we start with that for a little bit? So how that journey has been for you, how long you've been doing it?
Man, that journey, it's interesting. I just did a big post on it. I just hit 7 years in the quitting to the corporate world and starting the yoga teacher journey. So 2 weeks ago, 7 years ago, I packed up all my shit and put it into storage in London and moved to Bali to figure out who I was, what I wanted to do. And then I figured I would teach yoga while I was figuring that out. And 7 years later, the journey is still rooted or grounded in Bali. But yeah, I've just been teaching, and it was when I was in the corporate world practicing yoga, which I found myself on the mat. I just realized oh man, I had this class with this dude in London. I actually had 2 or 3 male teachers. And I was just man, I feel really fucking good after this class. But that was just a normal ass dude. He talked about yoga stuff, but that's like we could be hanging, we could get a coffee together. That's not like some spiritual being or some uber bendy white chick. It was I kind of I feel good. And I could do that shit. And so...
that was your teacher at the time, right?
Those are a couple teachers that I had in London.
Right. And when you say corporate, so you worked in corporate industry. What did you do?
Man, I was 11 years. I was an electrical engineer. I used to design radio frequency or wireless microchips. Then I went into tech sales for better half of a little over a decade.
Yeah, but you have a very strong American accent. So you were originally from States?
Yep, California.
And then when did you move to UK?
I moved to the UK at the beginning of 2016.
Beginning of 2000. Okay, I'm there since 2011. So okay, cool. And then you just working, doing your job, and then the yoga was someone suggested go try it. It's good for your.
I grew up in California, so California is a yoga essential. But for me, growing up, yoga was what dirty hippies with no shoes wore, wearing no shoes in Santa Cruz. That was yoga for me. And then it was at some point yoga was basically the hot chicks and Lululemons. That was yoga, but none of it was me.
I like how they changed this idea what yoga is. And I totally agree. When someone says oh, well, yoga is this and yoga is that. And then you see all the girls in the same freaking leggings, they go to yoga, they don't change, and they go to coffee shops and stuff. And oh my God, the training was so amazing. I just love the new coach. It was great. Or you have you go to Ubud, you see different side of it. People who haven't ever washed their hair and they do yoga.
Definitely not on the daily shower technique. I was sometimes just man, come on. I can't be the only one that smells this. Did you get so used to how bad you smell that you don't think you smell bad anymore?
So do you think they very strongly believe to that when you wash yourself, and especially if you use soaps, you wash away your natural oils and stuff? Do you think that's the reason, or they're fucking lazy?
So I didn't know you were going to go this direction. We'll come back to yoga at some point. So I literally only wash myself with water. I use soap usually it's after I do a pool, a sauna, or an ice bath, and I use soap just to get the chlorine off.
Right.
But I don't, so I do actually believe that maybe some people just naturally smell fucking bad, but I fucking love the way I smell. And for me, the biggest thing that I notice is when I begin to smell off, something's out of balance. So if I am in a high stress environment or some shit's popping off in my life, I'll smell it on me, and that is the way that something's out of balance. So what do I need to auto-correct? Right. Versus sometimes you're oh my God, I got a headache, a backache. Typically, if we don't mask our smell with soaps, with cologne, with whatnot, we are going to actually notice based on our smell when something's out of balance in life.
True. And it's the natural scent is a huge thing. And you probably heard of this concept that if people who are dating, if they don't like each other's natural scent, it's a kind of big problem. And it is actually about the offsprings. So the idea is that they did this whole research thing. So basically people who enjoy each other's scent without like any perfume and any of that shit. They are very compatible to have a healthy offsprings, because it's a good combination of different types of like genes, whatever. So like as you know, that it's better to have kids with someone from different ethnicity, from different like, so you can combine together different things. So my girlfriend, she's Chinese and she loves my natural scent. I was like, sometimes I wake up in the morning, her face is just in my armpit. I was like, what are you doing? I just love it. It's so good. But then also what you're saying about if something in the body is not right, you can feel that something's wrong. That's definitely, it's like if you're stressed too much or you eat some weird food or it's not good enough. I know that as well. And especially when I do climbing, I can, oh, Jesus.
So coming back to yoga, when I found yoga, so I was never a yogi. Never thought it. I may have done like one class in San Francisco that my brother took me to. And I was in a marriage that was not going well. I did a lot of dumb shit. I had an affair, came clean about the affair. I basically just dropped an atom bomb in it. But overall, there was very much a disconnection from a sense of self. Like I was very insecure and I was like, oh, hey, make more money. That'll make you secure. Act out, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of external focus shit. And I was on this trip to Eastern Europe. So we did Budapest, Croatia, Montenegro, and me, my brother, two of my friends, just basically drank and did drugs for like 3 weeks. Fun, not sustainable. Nothing I didn't want it to bleed back into life in London at all. So I was like, hard stop. So when you get back to London, I didn't really do a lot of drugs, but when you're partying or you're traveling, I would. But I was like, no drugs, no drinking. I'm going to quit eating meat and I'm going to go to the gym for 30 days. And on the second to last day of this trip, I was fucked up in Montenegro and I jumped off a dock thinking I'm going to do this beautiful swan dive over the rail. I slipped.
Oh no.
My baby toe slammed into the rail and I dislocated my baby toe. I stuck my foot out of the water and my baby toes like curled over. I'm like, oh. So in my head, I was like, well, I can't go to the gym on 9 toes. You can't squat on 9 toes. Always wanted to be more flexible. Let's just go do yoga.
Oh shit.
Much harder to do yoga on 9 toes than the gym. But that was my logic. And I can't tell if I'm a determined person or a stubborn person or both. But once I got on the mat, I signed up for the 1 month membership and I sucked. But I'm like, I already paid for the membership. Only way to not suck is to keep coming back. So right, wrong, or indifferent, I showed up and I did yoga 26 times in 1 month, 26 out of 30 days. And then life changed.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And how did you have that kind of conviction that, I just need to continue, just come, you're going to get better? Because a lot of people, they say, well, I'm naturally not flexible, which pisses me off. Because when I do like box splits, whatever, which I've been training for the last how many years, and oh my God, you're just flexible, you're just naturally gifted. It's like, no, I'm fucking stretching every day. So a lot of people go do yoga 1-2 times and they can't, like my shoulders are really shit. I can't touch my hands, right? So it's fucking embarrassing. But some like people are like, well, I'm not for yoga.
I would just let you know that that's probably one of the least embarrassing things about you. I could list at least 100 more that I've found over the last few years. But if you want to say it's embarrassing that your hands don't touch behind your back, we'll stick with that.
Well, I say that because I used to do pole acrobatics and I did a lot of human flags and stuff. So my shoulders got very muscly and stiff at the same time.
I have no idea why that face muscly.
It has to be, because that's the reason.
Yes.
So how did you were like, no, I'm just going to continue doing it. And what was the point where you actually realized, oh, I feel good?
So I will start off. Let's just think about humans. When humans do uncomfortable shit.
Wait.
What?
Let's think about humans.
Wait.
Wait.
Give me that sound effect one more time.
Wait,
there we go. Not the wow wow. Give me the thinking one.
Ready.
Thinking about humans. All right. Now that we're all thinking about humans, let's actually talk about it. When the average human being does shit that's uncomfortable or even painful, and they don't immediately have the guarantee of why I'm doing this, what does the average human being do?
Oh, they would stop. 100%.
They stop.
Yeah,
They
100%.
quit. I mean, you're a fitness guy. How many people fucking that are out of shape go to the gym once or twice and stop?
Well, for me, like I just want to correct you a little bit. I'm not a fitness guy.
Fitness is important in your life.
No. What is important for me is activity. It's like, so I started with it was football, it was basketball, it was always games. It was about skills, to learn the skills. So now I also just go boxing, I swim, and I do whatever. Like I never go and lift weights. Like I hate
Those are all
shit.
parts of fitness.
Yeah.
You're about keeping a fit body.
Yeah, and because I have fun with it. And I know that I feel much better every day if I train. Yeah.
Exactly. But the average person will go in, do it a little bit, and they've yet in their brain to fully guarantee that they know what they're going for. They know what that purpose is. So they quit. So the flexibility of their body is an excuse. But what it really is, it's a lack of flexibility in their mind because their mind isn't flexible enough to bend a certain way to do something that's uncomfortable and keep showing up in the discomfort.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, discomfort is where all growth happens.
And discomfort in how you feel, and also how you feel your body, and how you feel as a human, because you're surrounded by people who are better. Then you're like, oh my God, what are they going to think about me and stuff?
The comparison adds to it.
Yeah.
But if we didn't even have the comparison, we just have to think all growth happens in discomfort. Oh. We literally break what exists apart, and then we rest and it grows back bigger. You read a book, it breaks apart your mind because I knew something. Now I'm learning something new. Think about it. And then we internalize it, or the knowledge becomes wisdom. The same thing happens with our physical body. Like every time you do a bicep curl, every time you do a kick in Muay Thai, whatever it is, every time there's that stretch, whether it's a strength stretch or a flexibility stretch, we create micro tears in our body. And then with rest and protein, the body grows bigger, whether it's stronger or longer. So humans, that discomfort, and I haven't yet truly found the connection of why I'm doing it, I stopped doing it. For me, I gave it the 30 days and I was somewhere between stubborn or resilient. I don't know which one, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I would lean toward in that moment stubborn. And I just was like, let's keep going.
What kind of other athletic stuff did you do before that?
You know, I would have said like every athletics. I was an athlete. My dad was a basketball coach, so I just did everything. My parents had a life philosophy. If our kids are tired, they won't get into trouble.
That is a perfect. That is a perfect philosophy, because this is what we did as well all the time.
So everything. We played soccer, or as the Europeans will call it, football.
Yeah.
I also played football, basketball, baseball, golf. I even swam. I don't even float, but I swam because my mom was like, "Hey, there's a gap. What do we get? Get them tired somewhere. Okay, throw them in a pool." And when you have practice all the time, you basically have schoolwork, practice, and sleep. And eat, and you're just like, you don't have time to get into trouble.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. That is kudos to your parents, man. That is a very simple but amazing concept.
Athletics, very similar to what you said, being fit, the activity and movement was just a part of life from 5 or 6 onward. And I knew nothing else. So there was always a history of that. But I think the negative side of it was, when you begin to play sports, obviously we want to win in sports. And whether we think winning is everything, we want to win. And we strategize to win. And one of the early on things that I used to always notice is I would be able to find somebody's vulnerabilities. You find your opponent's weakness. 7 years old, the kid can't dribble with his left hand. All you do is face guard his right hand. And at some point, either runs backcourt or out of bounds. And so this ability to be like, oh, where are you weak? And I'm going to take advantage of it on the court creates a mindset that's life. So then there's this feeling, and I lacked the ability to be vulnerable for so much of my life, thinking that everyone was going to kind of be like asshole 7-year-old Chris if I showed my vulnerabilities. They were going to take advantage of them and take away something that I was working so hard for. So sports was great. Sports allowed me to have a great physical body. It allowed me to be very determined, to expand, to grow, to push myself. But at the same time, it also massively impacted my ability to have any aspects of vulnerability or even emotions, because I saw all that as a weakness that was going to be taken advantage of by whoever the opponent was.
And that is a subject what you've been dipping in quite a lot in your research and your also podcast about like the men vulnerability, and that the men need to talk about these things and need to. And I was actually today I was thinking about that, and I've been kind of exposed to that more and more lately, and I could just it's crazy to see how much I've grown from how I saw it when I was just fresh out of Latvia, like where it's like, man is this and men don't cry, men don't, but now I'm actually so okay. And my partner, she's so cool with that. And she wants to, help me to open up and to talk about certain things, but I used to just run away from. So it's interesting to talk to you about this concept. And when I want to say that I did grow up quite a lot, because now certain things, when I go back home to Latvia, or it's home, like it's been 15 years now, I just visit there for once a year or stuff. But like I talk to some of my peers and some of my old friends, I cannot even believe the things what they still believe in. And the things what they say like, oh yeah, that's what we need to do. That's what man does. And I was like, whoa, how is that possible? And it's just crazy because you don't notice that huge that gap when you are here, when you're like, and especially in Bali, it's just a place with all these people with open mind. They want to get better. They want to get, improving that stuff. So, and how it started for you? Why did you start looking into it? And you literally just even said like, yeah, I was like guarded. I was like, sports is about winning. Like, don't show your weakness and all that kind of stuff.
So I would notice times that I would get angry. And my ex-wife used to always have this thing, but why does it matter so much? So I was all about speed, efficiency. Everything was a win. I fucking hated traffic. I would like literally look at driving like a very anxiety-filled game of like, let's beat every car to where I want. Finding side roads, frontage roads. Right. And like when I would get stuck in traffic, I'd be so fucking pissed.
Bali is perfect for you. Just go on a fucking sidewalk.
Oh, I was meant to be a two-wheel driver. My mom was on the back of my scooter when she was out here, and she's like, I never told you this, Chris, but I hate being in a car where you're driving.
Yeah.
I love being on the back of your scooter.
Oh, really?
She's like, you just like, it's meant for you. Like you can see and you can go versus like waiting. I was like, I minimize the amount of time I have to deal with or be negatively impacted by others' stupidity.
I agree. I hate also like driving. I drive only when I'm in the UK, and the traffic is not as bad as where I live now. But if I get in traffic, I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? Why are we all sitting here?
It's true. I'll tell you the answer. People don't know how to fucking merge.
Oh.
People don't know how to merge. So my dad taught me when you merge into something, you accelerate to merge.
Right.
People break to merge because we live in a world full of fucking pussies. Earmuffs, if that's offends you. But it's like, is it okay to go? Versus you see and you go.
Yeah.
Versus you wait and you see.
Yeah.
I see and I go.
Well, in Bali, we have a lot of also super bad drivers. Like you can see like how slow they go and what they do. Sometimes like, what is going on?
I know, but luckily we just go right around them.
Yeah. Just get around. So yeah, going back to the subject.
The subject.
About like, when does that, you felt like something happened that, okay, so this is...
So I would get angry to the point of one time I was driving and I got stuck in traffic because they had a pride parade in San Francisco. And I threw my cell phone off the steering wheel and I smashed my cell phone because I was so pissed because of traffic. And I'm like, why does it matter? And faster, better, stronger.
Right. Win. Always win. But
I began to be like, I wouldn't say this out loud then. Why do I act the way that I act? Like, okay, why? And when I began to look back, and I used to come back, and that really brought me back even when I was 7, even earlier. And it was that feeling like I have to create a strategy to win. Well, why? Why do I have to create this? And it really came back to me as a young kid not feeling like I was enough. So we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I always took that as, because we're not rich, because we don't have blank, like I have to do something. I have to put extra sauce on top of Chris to be enough. My parents used to have this thing when I was a kid, and you could never invite yourself over to someone's house for a sleepover. But I didn't think that I was cool enough to be invited. So I remember as a kid strategizing on how to get a friend to invite me over for a sleepover on Friday or Saturday night, because I couldn't ask myself. So there's this very much a core thing of creating strategies to try to get wins. I'm not enough. What do I have to do so somebody thinks I am enough? And then how do I also make sure no one sees the thing that is going to be the weakness? And then what does that mean? You start acting certain ways. Like I was the class clown. I was also the class athlete. I was kind of like the clown, athlete, alpha, while being super insecure at the exact same time. And so you're putting on all these different masks. And I think what I began to then look at was probably in my late 20s is when I began to think my greatest superpower was that I was a chameleon. But if we say there's 6 sides of Chris, and I can fit into anything. But what I really began to realize now in my like early 30s, looking back, it was like, it wasn't that it was a superpower. What I was actually doing that I thought was a superpower, being able to blend, was actually looking at these 6 different parts of Chris and then thinking 5 of those 6 aren't enough or need to be hidden to be accepted in this environment. So it was actually what I thought was blending as a superpower. What I was really doing to myself was shaming part of me to say, these parts aren't enough. You got to amplify this part, versus recognizing that everything is welcome. Though I don't need, just because I can swear and scream doesn't mean I have to swear and scream all the time, but I'm not going to shame a part of myself. And I think that recognition helps me lean in to just being fully self-expressed and knowing the difference between expression and performance. I'm not performing the part that's going to allow me to be accepted. I'm just expressing who I am and maybe hoping and praying that that's enough and that I will be accepted. To then maybe the journey of not giving a fuck if I'm accepted or not. But that's also, as human beings, we want to be accepted. It's okay. It sounds good. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
But I do. I want you to have a positive thought about me. And if you don't.
Very interesting that like a lot of people do certain things and they have no idea why they do certain things, right? So you literally just described me. I was the class clown. I was the athlete. I was doing everything. But for me, my main thing was like, I just enjoyed doing all of those things. And then there's part of me also like, oh, girls gonna notice me. That was always kind of thing, But one of the reasons actually why I did all the sports was my dad was alcoholic. So I never wanted to come home. So every time, like very often when he was drinking, I would come home and there's always fighting with my mom and whatever. So my strategy was I'm going to stay at school as long as I can. So sometimes I leave home like 7:30 in the morning for school and I come back at 9 or 10 o'clock. And I'm like only like 11 years old. And there's no even questions asked at home like, oh, where were you? It's like my mom knows where I was. But in the same time, if I look in the future, it was a blessing in a certain way because I've been working now as a stunt performer for 10 years. And like all these little skills, what I learned, and that chameleon, as you were saying, I could totally say the same thing. I was even playing guitar in a band. I was like singing in church choir. Like I did all those things. And that now helps me. Then it's easy for me to adapt to those things. And I encourage people to do a variety of things,
Yeah. And I think it's actually a very important step in this journey was when you become aware of a lot of things and insecurities when you're younger, you can then in your present moment, like right now, begin to shame yourself, your past versions of you. God, fucking young Chris, fuck him, God damn it, da 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 da. And you get really negative at a younger version of you.
Yeah.
And then you can also then recognize that the only reason you are who you are today is because of that. So it's like, oh, you can have compassion for that. Like, fuck. Like, I wish he knew that he was enough. I wish that he believed he was worthy. But I'm not going to shame him because right, wrong, or indifferent, it is only because of him and every decision that I've made in my life that has gotten me to be this version of Chris right here, right now. Now, I also can have a moment of sadness because there are some people that I've hurt along the way to become this version of me. So there is that sadness, but it is like, hey, we live our lives, and I know that the majority of human beings outside of like the true sociopathic narcissists, but no matter what a human being does, I truly believe that the 99.9% of us are doing the best we can with what we have in any given moment.
Right.
He was this younger version of me, you were the younger version of you. And so it's no longer me shaming that one, but being like, I wish that he knew that he was enough.
But you see, part of me thinks like if you would know and someone would be telling that, oh, Renars, oh, Chris, you're enough. So you don't need to do all of this and all of that. But then I believe that because I pushed myself to those limits and because I was doing all those things, as you said, like now that we are who we are. So what if we actually just be like, okay, I'm good enough. And then I don't need to do all these things where I can actually grow as a person physically and mentally. So it's like,
So what you're talking about right now is a very challenging tipping point. So optimally, we have a high level of awareness of self. We know who we are. And when I say I or ourself, there's I, my ego, which is who we think we are, like my body, my mind, da, da, da. And then there's this like that deeper level. In yoga, we call it Atman, or our true self, your soul, your essence, this never changing, like the you that was you from the moment you're born to the moment you're dying. Like that, the consciousness is a buzzword that a lot of people use these days as well. But when we begin to have awareness of self and acceptance of self, so the belief that I am enough, then we can look for self-mastery. So we don't always do the self-mastery from a place of I'm enough and I'm worthy. So sometimes we need the unworthiness to motivate us to become masterful. But at a certain point, we have to be like, I am enough and I still want to evolve and I want to grow. Because the first part is when people go in that, what do we call it? The goalposts keep moving. So, I'll be enough if I make $100,000. I actually literally had this. I'd be enough if I make $100,000.
Yeah.
And then you put all this energy into making $100,000 and then you make it and you're like, still not enough. Got to make $200,000. Still not enough. Got to make $300,000. And then that'll go on. And how many men do you know, just speaking of men in general, are like workaholics? Because it's always like the business needs to get blank and then I'll feel like I'm enough. So it's this unquenchable thirst. But at a certain point, there's nothing wrong with that. But at a certain point, you have to realize I am enough. Now, if I'm choosing that my purpose in life is somehow connected to this business, this pursuit, whatever, this artistic form, whatever it might be, then we continue to go for this mastery because it actually is lifting us up. It's improving our ability to show up in life. And that's ultimately, I think, what all human beings we want to have something that motivates us to show up in our fullest in whatever it is. Some aspect of purpose, whether the purpose is service of ourselves, service of others, service of a relationship, something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of points you're touching, which is like
You can hit that little button, the top green one.
Which one? Top green?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
That
I like
one,
that
that
one.
one.
Yeah, I like how you learned that one. Top green one. That one too.
I'll be here all night.
Tip your waitresses. Yeah, that is. To me, it always feels there has to be balance, and that's why I keep saying, like, one of the best books I ever read is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I just I love how they talk about the balance. You need, you spend your time with your loved ones, you spend time for your soul, you spend time with making money, you spend time with doing physical stuff and being physically active. And it's just everyone needs to find that balance, what the best works for them, right? Because this balance, just chasing that dollar, and everything else is not important anymore. Like then goes to shit as well.
And one of the biggest balances is stress and rest. So the stress that is the gym, the stress that is work, the stress that is a relationship, all these things are those things that break us apart, and give us the opportunity to grow if we have the balance that is some amount of rest. So we break ourselves apart with stress, we rest, and then we integrate into a greater whole, a greater version of whatever it is. But if we go stress, I mean, how many times have you been in an environment? What happens if you're doing boxing or Muay Thai and you just go, all you do is punch, something breaks.
Yeah. True. You're so wise, Chris. How did you get so wise? So anyways, like this, I just realized I'm like so wise.
Oh man, it always feels good to hear. It always feels good to recognize. So what I will say is I was always like smart and great
and modest, very modest.
Grades were a thing that was like made you feel like you were enough. So it's like those were wins. Like I wanted it because I didn't think that I was enough. If the grades are up, then you'll be enough if you get A's or whatever. So I was motivated by recognition. But I think by picking engineering, it wires your brain to be a problem solver.
Literally wires it.
Yeah. And the problem solving that were electrical circuits, at some point you change that and you but you can use that same brain setup to then look at other things. So as I have begin to dive into myself as the first human, and then begin to dive into other human beings from a coaching perspective, you just begin to, and then you read books, but I never read a book to just read the book to memorize it. I read a book and I'll literally read one page and get lost staring in the distance because I'm like applying it to my life. I'm applying it to clients' lives. I'm applying it to students' lives or just like humanity in general. And I think because of that, like I read very little, but what I read or what podcasts I listen to, which I listen to very few of, I really begin to like absorb so much of whatever I consume.
And analyze it as well. Like, what's the point to, you know, when as you said, like people read books, many, like I read so many books, but how many of those books you actually kind of lived, or like how do you try to apply them, and how do you try to use that knowledge? Because right now we have so many books and audio versions and all sorts of versions and so much information. And that is also like a cool subject about information. How do you deal with this massive amount of information what just targets us from everywhere? And like sometimes I am sinning so bad, like I would lie in bed and I'm like even read my book because book allows me to fall asleep faster, but then I was like I just start scrolling and I realize hour just disappeared, and then I kind of try to convince myself I learned something, but all I see like how bear is eating someone's head, and I was like, no, didn't learn much.
Bear eating somebody's head?
Yeah, because as soon as, you know how algorithm works, as soon as you see some gnarly thing, like someone gets shot or whatever, and then algorithm just throws you that stuff, and I literally like end up seeing a video where a bear just bites someone's head off. And I'm like, what the fuck am I looking here at?
That's intense.
Exactly.
I don't know. Whatever YouTube decides to put, YouTube is my main consumer of that's what I would scroll through. I don't really do the TikTok thing. I don't really do a lot of Instagram. But YouTube, and sometimes I don't even know, but I do laugh as I started playing paddle. I've never watched a video on paddle ever, but I needed to put a new wrap on my paddle racket. And so I Googled, or I put YouTube how to put it. And then all of a sudden paddle everywhere. And I'm like, oh shit. Oh, it's like, oh, push, step. And now I'm like watching paddle videos while waiting to go play paddle. But you're right. There is so much out there. And, you know, I kind of look at it a little bit like meditating. So, except technically similar concept. So meditating and the journey of meditation is not about being focused all the time. It is how quickly can we recognize when we lose focus, lose concentration to come back. So in this world of so much data that's out there, it's less about let's not watch it, but how can we improve the recognition of when it's not serving us? Oh, I went into a hole. How much faster can I see when I went in a hole and pull it back to me doing some shit that I really need to be doing, the things that are important to me in life. So I think that's a thing. And, but I will say, like, if I was going to give myself a grade, I'm sitting at like a C minus in my success of doing that. Cause there also is a beauty of, you know, I'm a yoga teacher in Bali and a human connection coach. So I do have hours that I don't like to shit on myself, that could be used much more beneficially, but I love my fucking life. And if part of my life is, I just found this new TV show called Blacklist. Oh my God, it's so addicting. I've just like, in like 3 months, I think I've crushed like 5 seasons of this thing. They're like 24 episode seasons. So I'm putting in like some major work on this shit, but I'm also like, you know, it's not the end of the world, but I do know, hey, how do I harness it? How do I harness looking at this so that I can make sure that I'm, you know, at the end of the day, it's energy, and my energy is leaking to Blacklist. My energy is leaking to a little YouTube. And if I'm okay with that leak, then we keep on going. But at the moment when I realize that leak is keeping me from applying energy to something that is fucking really important in life, then an action he said, it's costing me too much than what it's giving me. It's giving me a stimulation of my brain. It's giving me some numb. It's giving me the chill out, eat a pizza, drink a beer.
But again, we go back to the concept of balance and moderation. It's like anything you do and anything you apply, it has to figure out when, this is time to stop. Like, okay, I do the one episode like every 2 days or whatever. Okay, you have like a rule, that's good, you know.
I try to have the rule of wait for the sun to set. Just if the sun sets, then you can watch YouTube and Netflix.
You could be a good boy.
Yeah.
Who's a good boy?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're not an alcoholic. If you only drink at nighttime, like you would be on the softer side of alcoholism. Once you start doing too much daytime drinking, so if daytime Netflix, you got a fucking problem.
Oh God! But no, the shows what we get on Netflix is insane. Like how it works nowadays. You can just binge it all. It's insane.
Yeah, I know. How old are you?
I'm 40.
40. So do you remember? I mean, I don't know what TV was like in Latvia, but we used to like the TV guide was printed in the newspaper. So you didn't even know when time shows came on. And like you had to be dedicated. You had to be like, we have to be in front of the TV at 8 p.m. on Friday to watch Family Matters.
Oh, 100%.
And if we're 5 minutes late, you're like, we don't know it. We might not ever see this episode again. It's gone.
We had the same thing. Like we even have it crazier because in Latvia, so we got our independence back from Soviet Union when I was 6 years old, and we had only like Russian TV. But it doesn't make the difference. Like everything again go according to the newspaper, and like you have like 4 channels as well. You know, now people sit like, you know, I don't use TV, and I don't know many people who use TV. But if I see someone like they go through so many channels, the commercials everywhere. That's why I'm pretty happy about like Netflix and other, you know, streaming channels that they give you like, okay, this is what you're watching. There's no commercials. Like, you know, you choose. That's great. But the problem is then you want to watch more and more and more, and then you can't stop watching. So then back in the days, what we had is kind of better, but at the same time management and when you want to do it, it's different.
Wow.
So it's always going to be stick with 2 ends, you know? You can't have that all. You can't have it all. Listen, I usually have like 3 breaks. So we're going to have one break now.
Blah, blah, blah. Renars podcast.
Okay, we're back after a little break, after a little call to the girlfriend. Hey, I love you so much.
Do you hit the red button?
Yeah, you see, it's red.
Oh, so that means it's on?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Oh, shit. This is live.
This is live.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So yoga is a big part of your life. Before that, it was a lot about electrical wires and engineering and stuff. And you kind of, you didn't totally put it away. You still do some of it. Use that knowledge because you develop projects here in Bali, like you build stuff. So obviously that knowledge comes to, you know, you can use it. And then how often do you just almost get a heart attack to see how locals are putting wires in?
So it's interesting. The funny thing is, so an electrical engineer sounds like being an electrician, but it has nothing really to do with like the actual wires. So you think about when wires, so I was just like, people are like, what's an electrical engineer? So like, you know what they have like a video game controller that's see-through?
Right.
Or your phone case was like see-through so you can actually see the inner circuitry of a phone. There's usually a big black square in your phone, and that's called a semiconductor. So at some point, things were on and off switches. And then they realized if I do more than one on and off switch, I can then make some aspect of control, a controller. And when you have enough controllers, then we have these things called a mainframe. Did you ever see the movie Hidden Figures?
Hidden Figures, I heard of it.
Hidden Figures is great. So it talks about these black female mathematicians in NASA.
Yeah.
And they were doing the calculations to get shit to the moon by like hand.
And funny enough, they couldn't go to the toilet to make a shit there because they were black.
Exactly. They had to go to the toilet on the other side.
Yeah. So there was a whole big, really nice scene about it. Like,
so she was one of them, but then one of them all of a sudden saw this big, weird thing in a rack and was like, what's that? And that was like the first IBM mainframe. Right, and so her value was she read the instruction to it, and all these NASA scientists don't even know how to use it. So what the original computers was they were calculators. So how do we automate the calculations? And NASA was one of the things that needed a whole bunch of calculations.
Right.
So what we've done is that was a certain amount of transactions that it could do. And all we've done is make the computer smaller and the transactions higher. And then you went from a mainframe all the way to a personal computer to now supercomputing to now the wave of AI. So all that's done. So an electrical engineer, what we would do is we would think of creating the hardware that then supports all these software applications, whether it's the application on your mobile phone. So what I used to do is you have a chip in your phone that's responsible for Wi-Fi, and there's a chip in your phone that gives you Bluetooth. They used to run on the same frequency. So we would design the chips and then the software to make sure that you could make a Wi-Fi call and be on Bluetooth at the same time, and they didn't block each other out. So that's what we did.
That's not the same as being an electrician.
No, it's not. But there are wires, but the wires are like microscopically small. So as we fast forward, I could not engineer electronically my way out of a fucking paper bag. But the mindset of the engineer is the mindset of a very, very fast, complex problem solver. So those problems that were once actually engineering turned into the problems that were technical sales, trying to solve the business problem with technology. And now it is, how do we solve the problem of being a human being? Because at the end of the day, whether there is a problem, there isn't, we as human beings love to create problems. Because if we create a problem, there's something for us to focus on fixing. And oftentimes it's outside of us. So if we're in a partnership or relationship with somebody, if you're the fucking problem, I'm going to now fix you. And that allows me to avoid any of my own shit.
Oh, here you go. Because you then make according to what works for you.
Exactly. Or let's create a business.
Yeah.
The business has problems. Let's go fix the business problems. And that keeps me busy from fixing and figuring my own shit out. But I believe there are problems. We make up problems. But for me, I love taking the engineering mindset and now applying it to myself as a human being. Like, I'm my own complex fucking circuit, except I'm changing all the time. And I also have this little inner critic that also likes to lie to me about what's real and what's not real. So that makes a whole new fun part of this ball game. But it's like, all right, how do we begin to solve problems that I really care about? And for me, the problems that I really care about are the problems that are impacting humanity, impacting human beings, being able to live their life, find peace and purpose.
And do you think that the beginning with that was with the studying electrical engineering? So there's a lot of coming from that side.
So I think, so for me, it was really interesting. So backtrack even before that. So I grew up in a very religious household. My dad was a Baptist minister. My mom was Catholic. So I went to Catholic school, kindergarten through 8th grade, always going to church. And I didn't like this idea that religion just said blind faith.
Yeah.
Really? We're going to believe in this book?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, let us have some autonomy to make, prove something to me. Don't just say faith. And then science was great because science is super tangible. But then for me, yoga actually bridged this gap in a very non-dogmatic way that said, oh, this is very essence of religion, faith, something greater, this Ishvar, pranama. I'm going to butcher those Sanskrit words. So anyone that's a yogi that's listening to this, because I'm a fucking moron. But this idea of in a belief of something that is greater. And for me, that's actually my definition of spirituality. The belief that we're all inextricably connected through something that's greater than us as individuals. So there's something that connects us. There's something that connects you and me plus everybody else. And that connection is there's something greater. I don't know what that greater thing is. Call it what you want to call it. You can call it God. We can call it whatever the different words for God are, Yahweh, Allah, whatever it is. But there's something that is greater that's interconnecting us all. So yoga really began to channel, which was my engineering, science-based love with the indoctrinated aspects of religion. And they began for me to fuse together.
Ooh. What subjects are the most important or the majors for the electrical engineers? Is it physics?
It's physics based. So you would go physics and you would take it all the way up to quantum physics, because what you're basically doing is electricity is essentially flowing through things at like the speed of light. So then you harness the power of what that is to do different functions. So essentially a little piece of silicone, you make microscopic cuts, you put energy or electricity into it, and depending on what you put into it and all the little cuts, all the answers to the world come out of the other end.
If what breaks down, I can call you. What has as an example, in my household breaks down, I can call you to fix it.
You could call me to fix it. And most likely I wouldn't show up because I don't care about you that much. It would be end of the day, it would be more broken afterwards if you really called me to fix it. Best case is I would know the right person to then actually send to fix the problem. So what we can think about is, so we have these electrical wires that go over, and at some point you're going to plug into the electrical wire to come into your house, and you have 100 plugs in your house, and all the plugs are going to plug into all this electronic shit that's staring at us right now. And you want to make sure two things: you have enough power to power your electronics, and you have the ability to put a cap on it so you don't burn everything out. So that is electrical is getting enough in, but making sure that it's safe. I.e., if you put your hand on the electric wire outside and you kill yourself, you don't want to have that exact same thing happening, flowing through here. So on a much smaller scale, the same thing is happening in all the electronics that we have. So we have this freaking device here. We charge it. So now it has power.
Right.
And then all the random components in there then surface up. Of course, you can see my great screen, which I decided to bounce off the ground, not on purpose. That was a slip, wasn't a smash.
Is that was the when you were angry long time ago?
No, this was not angry. And the fact that I didn't get angry after it happened is the yoga working in real life.
Wait.
Well
done.
You guys are too kind. You're too kind. But yeah, so that's essentially the what we see as electricity in the house, and then we shrink it down by 1 million, and then put it on to a little semiconductor that goes into a phone, that goes onto a computer, that goes into a server that supports the entire world, that supports the internet, that supports crypto, that supports foreign exchanges, whatever it is.
Right. So for you, like, okay, I'm not gonna call you to fix me anything, but like for you on an everyday basis, what are the things? What helps? What is easier for you to solve because of your education, formal education?
The education, I would literally say, my education did two things. And there's this guy, Charlie Kirk, that shows up on TV all the time, he's like a liberal, he's a conservative pundit, but he talks about that. He wrote a book called "College is a Scam."
Right. I heard. I think I heard.
And I didn't realize how many morons are out there with like $250,000 worth of student debt, and they decided to be like a music major, and now they're working at Starbucks. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that that was that stupid. Like, so for me, college and my degree gave me two things. I needed structure, and so it said, here is a 4-year project for you to complete. And by completing that 4-year project, I set myself up with the discipline to complete projects.
Right.
And then all the classes that I took really just trained my brain to figure out really hard shit. Now, I can't figure out any of that hard shit anymore, but now I can figure out harder shit. And the harder shit, which actually was probably the one crux that kept me from a level of success that would have been even more successful than I was, is the ability to connect with human beings. To say, why do you do what you do? You do what you do for a reason. Every decision you make is giving you something. And how can I get to know you, get to understand you, to understand why you make the decisions that you're making? And that was the one thing in my business career that would have just skyrocketed. But I was a very logical ROI based seller. So like, why would you'd be stupid not to make this much more money or save this much money. But then I really realized the big beauty of all the shit that I learned in engineering is to think, all right, here's a problem. The problem is you're making choices that don't best serve you. They don't best serve your family. They don't best serve those around you. They don't best serve humanity. Well, let's understand why you're doing what you're doing. Understand what it's giving you, and then what it's costing you. And then what do you really want to be doing? What's the action required? And of course, that sounds really simple. That goes on like
But it's true. It's like, but sometimes it has to be the simplest questions ever. One of my best examples is like when I lived in Canada, I used to date this girl who was studying engineering something. I don't remember now, agriculture, engineering. And I would like, she's quite a bright girl, right? And we would hang out. And almost every other day she comes over, is like upset. It was like, what happened? Oh, I failed this exam. I was like, oh, okay. So it fails exam again. And I was like, what the hell what is going on? You don't like the subject? She's like, it's a really difficult subject. And then I was like, so why are you studying it? And then she goes, oh yeah, because like engineering would allow me to travel, to make all this money. And I'm like, but you don't like the subject. You're not passionate about it. And she goes, not really. And like, what are you passionate about? And she goes, I like to teach kids languages. I like to play instruments. Like, so what are we doing here? And she's like, but yeah, I already done 1 year. I can't go back now. So she's afraid because like parents are paying for it. Anyways, long story short, she calls me 2 weeks later and she says, I spoke to my parents and I changed my major. And she lost that 1 year, but now how many years later, she's a teacher and she travels the world and does things which she loves to do. And we once in a while talk about it. And she's like, thank you so much for that one conversation, just opening my eyes. And if that's what you do with people, and it's sometimes they just need a one little thing, you know?
Because what you're sharing is also common. Almost every human being has their version of her story. And it is based on two things: fear and a lack of trust. To trust, and we come back to where we actually began this conversation of I am enough. Can I trust that I am enough and what I truly lights me up will work out? No, I don't trust that I'm enough. I don't trust in my loves. I don't trust in my passions. So I'm going to do what I think I'm supposed to do, because then that will give me the resources to then buy me into freedom. But if you are financially free, but you're a slave to your job, are you free?
Yeah, what's the point? It doesn't work. But then again, this is like kind of a result of your environment as well, because growing up where I grew up, like you want to be a dancer, there's no career to be a dancer. You want to be a singer, oh, very tough to make as a singer, like all these kind of things. And no one really came and said, listen, you can actually travel, you can go to different countries, there's all these possibilities, like, and because they are already the product of the environment, they are conditioned and convinced that this is the only way to do it. And so that's why I just feel so blessed that, first of all, I could leave my country, I can travel the world, and I can be here right now, and I can have podcasts with people and learn all these things, and just never ending, education. And like, it's amazing. There's so many opportunities, and you just need to figure out what you actually like to do.
And I'm grateful, super grateful for my parents as well, because my dad grew up in the racist, poor South. My dad used to pick cotton and soybeans. He lived below the poverty line. He had like 7 brothers and sisters. They didn't always know where the next meal was going to come from. And my dad, they always say, like, shit you would never wish upon your kids happens to you, but it's the thing that opens the door to everything. So my dad was actually the shortest. Talking about I'm 6'5", my dad's 5'5". So my dad was the shortest starting.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Your dad is 5'5".
Yeah.
How?
I mean,
was your mom like 7'7"?
5'8".
Is that the ancestors? Is the
We guess my dad, but we don't. There's so many unknowns. But as it sits, my dad's 5'5", my mom's 5'8". Mom's probably closer to 5'7" now. She's
I'm 5'8".
I know. So you'd be taller than my dad.
Oh wow!
By a good few inches.
No. I believe that it's the gene pool, and like, what do you have from the?
I mean, we can get into the whole concept of genetics versus epigenetics. We talked about the idea of express genetics. That's a whole conversation. But to come back to what I was going to share, so my dad was going to go to JUCO. My grandfather didn't even go to school. I think my grandmother had graduated 8th grade. He came back after high school, and his mom got pissed at him for something and whooped his ass for no reason. And he said, fuck this shit. He would never swear, but that's what he did. And he went in the military. So he's like, I'm out. And then going in the military, his 2 other brothers got drafted. He joined voluntarily. They ended up somewhere in the U.S. and he gets sent to Vietnam.
Oh shit! So your dad went to Vietnam.
He's now like 18, 19, infantry, Vietnam War. Shooting, killing, seeing death all around him.
Fuck.
He then, from there, goes to Europe, meets my mom. So a poor black guy from the South, grew up picking cotton, is now in Europe in the army. So he got exposed to things that were no one in his family even could dream of. And so because of that, him and my mom, they traveled Europe together, just traveling in the trains in the freaking 80s.
And your mom, where was she from?
She's from LA. She's of Irish descent, but from Los Angeles.
But how come she was in Europe?
She was a teacher. So my dad got stationed at a base in the Netherlands, and my mom was a teacher at the American or the English school right next to the base.
So romantic. Wait.
Oh, you're right. That is romantic.
That is romantic. That is beautiful. Wow.
So growing up, even though like we didn't travel because we couldn't afford once they came back to the U.S., they couldn't afford to travel. I would hear stories about traveling, and I do think that it is the magic of the environment. And they actually say a lot of people talk a lot of shit about the U.S. and there's plenty of stuff that we do fucking wrong. But I think the trueness of the American dream is actually to have parents that say that you can do anything. Whether you can and do is up to you. But so much of, especially like Eastern Europe, like imagine like your parents grew up during like end of World War II?
Yeah.
Like Stalin controlled Eastern Europe.
My mom actually was almost taken by Stalin's people because she was a journalist. So she was like, she wrote some kind of a piece in whatever newspaper, and that just then she the whole family, we moved to countryside where I grew up, and she was just that close to be taken by KGB agents and sent to Siberia.
So just think about that. If we think about how important love and connection are, when you're worried about survival, which is a lot of Europe from like 1900 to like 1990, was a lot of like, we're trying to survive. We're not trying to thrive.
No.
We're not dreaming.
That's why they never said about the job should be like, oh, you should be enjoying it. It was about job. It's survival. This is how you make your living.
So I do think there is that beauty of when your environment gives you permission to dream, gives you permission to say, what do I want? And so for me, that was like, oh, I saw things out there. I saw affluence in my peripherals. Like I'd see the rich kids over there. I'm like, oh, like I know what I want. But then I also feel like I'm lacking that I don't have. So I push myself to grow, to do, to find, to create. What I realized, especially as I found yoga, that I was living a dream. It just wasn't my dream. It was living somebody else's dream.
Oh, dude. That's crazy because I was chasing my sister's footsteps for so many years and living her life. And like was listening, oh yeah, she was in finances, so I need to be in finances. Like she makes this money, I need to. And then at just one point I realized, what the fuck am I doing? I need to find my own path. You know, and I'm so happy that I did realize and had that realization. And how often people actually get that fucking realization, you know, it's so little. And when they do, they somehow like they don't believe, they think it's not going to happen. It's going to be tough and all that stuff. And they just give up.
Well, let's come back to like the root of being a human. It's we need connection and love. So you come out of your mother's womb. If you do not have connection and love, you die. Literally. Like you need the connection of just like the warm body next to you, the blankets, the hug, the food. Then you need the nurturing. And it is through human connection that we begin to develop skills. Like if you don't get access to other human beings, you literally lose like the ability to develop emotions. Like your brain doesn't develop if you don't have connection. So we, as babies, say we're born in with we're not going to get into multi-generational trauma, all the genetic shit. We're going to save that for a later conversation. But as a baby, we have a blank slate. When we need warmth, we're given it. When we need food, we're given it. When we need to be cleaned, we're given it. So we get to be 100% ourselves in a moment when we don't even understand consciously who the fuck we are. We get it all. But then there's a moment. In which what we truly need, we don't get. Oh, we need something. So what do? We cry. Oh, now if I cry, I get what I want. If I do these things, I get the love. If I do these things, I don't get the love. Or maybe I get the love taken away. So now we begin to be conditioned. What happens when you put your dog's face in the shit when it shits in the house? It doesn't shit in the house anymore. So unintentionally, intentionally, best of intentions, worst of intentions, our parents, our loved ones, our family, our friends, our teachers, and society are domesticating us essentially like a dog. So we get that. So we're, instead of connecting to who I am, what do I, big I, self, true self, soul want? I think little I, what's going to keep me comfortable? What's going to guarantee that I get love? And then we create a character. And if I do this character correctly, if I play it perfectly, I'll get love. I'll get connection. And then we disconnect from who we really are, what we really want, what our true self, what our soul craves. And so then we're just playing this game. But at a certain point, and they say that it is in the preteen years, we then get this moment of I, sense of self, who I really am, begins to like wake up a little bit. And then there's a battle. Our battle is, when what we really, really want, big I, versus what we were told we were supposed to want, are contradictory. And so on one side, we think, okay, this, what I've learned my entire life is who I am. This is safe, and I'm going to reject my true self.
Right.
Or we rebel against it all. And which is why in those preteen years, you have the kids that follow suit. They do everything. They're the goody two-shoes. They follow all the rules. And then we get these fuck the world rebels. Because no one's going to tell me what to do. And now we have so many human beings that are lost in this battle to find out, who am I? How do I conform? How do I speak my truth? How do I be myself?
But do you think that the ones who are like a much earlier rebels and they figured out what they want, so I'm not going to follow all these rules. So do you think those people have advantage over the ones, the goody shoes? I'm not trying to say like one is better or worse, but like as earlier you kind of figure out what is your path. That's supposed to be better, right?
So inherent, like I would lean in toward agreeing with you.
Yeah.
But one of the things is that if you are a rebel because you're reacting to something, that doesn't serve you best.
Right.
If you are a goody two shoe because you're reacting, also doesn't serve you the best. So we think about like our natural physiological reaction is flight or fight. Stress comes in, run away at superhuman speeds, fight with superhuman strength. That's when the stress comes in, the edge comes in. And I talk a lot about this is like one of the tenets of yin yoga. So that edge happens. How can we then be with the edge? How can we be with the discomfort and then listen and then tune in to recognize that we have all this inner wisdom? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm now going to respond. Now responding could be running away. Responding could be fighting. Or responding could be leaning in. And so that rebel, how do we say, okay, somebody's telling me what I should do. Here's a rule. What do I think about this? Do I agree with it? No, actually, I think I'm going to choose to do this. Or I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right. I don't think I need a stop sign here, but I'm going to choose to follow this rule. So definitively rebel, definitively goody two shoe. Both of those are thinking, this is guaranteed safety, or I'm going to be myself and screw all the rules. And really, there's this back to balance. There's the balance point in the middle that only comes through discernment, through taking a pause and utilizing our inner wisdom to make a choice. Because the choice is the response. The reaction is using no wisdom.
Right. Yeah, I think I do agree to what you say, because total rebels, it's like if you 100% like I don't go with anything and I don't abide the rules of society, and the only reason the society works because there are some basic rules, and you say fuck all of these rules, like you can't go that way either. But like again, like if you're too much of goody two shoes, then again it goes to the other side. So that is a balance, and also figuring out like what is your truth. And then like one of the things when I say like, so people are like, what, you want me just to quit my job? Like, I mean, no, you need to figure out, as you said, like there's a problem, figure out what's going to be the structure and how you're going to get out of it. So you want to become a yoga teacher? Well, don't quit straight away. Figure out how to do it on part-time, or on the weekends or something. So you start learning and understanding more, and then you can eventually make that big step.
It's interesting because I did just quit my fucking job and move to Bali and become a yoga teacher. And I'm like, but I do tell people like that was my path. Yeah. So my brand is called The Walker Way. So The Walker Way is by evaluating and hearing and learning about so many different ways to then walk my way, the Chris Walker way. And so I teach the Chris Walker way, but I don't teach the Chris Walker way for you to do the Chris Walker way. I teach the Chris Walker way for you to walk your way. So through my way, I want to inspire you to be connected and empowered to walk your way. And I think that is the hard thing, is for us to look at, hey, just because I quit my job, moved to Bali and became a yoga teacher, doesn't mean that is your way. 100%. So you need to find out what allows you to expand. And there's some sort of foundational strength we all need. So that foundational strength, that foundational certainty, I went full uncertain. I just went leaning in, jumped off the motherfucking high dive board, and we're like, cross my fingers, it's deep enough.
And broke your little toe thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing, but for me it was easier because I didn't have anything holding me back anymore. Because in Latvia, like I lost my job, lost my business, broke up with my ex-girlfriend, had my master's degree, and I had nothing. And a friend of mine says, let's go to Canada. And I said, like, I need to clear my head anyways, because I broken heart and stuff. So that was perfect. Like, I thought like the conditions were so perfect. So for me to say no to that opportunity would be the stupidest thing ever. And because I said yes to that opportunity, now I'm here. And it was like the coolest choice ever. Very tough for like whatever years, like 5-6 years, but and that worked for me. But then if someone would go like, yeah, I'm gonna quit this stable, amazing job, gives me everything, fucks off. And for 2 weeks also, the other thing was like, I knew I have nothing to come back to. But then if you do have to cut something to come back to, they're like always going to be like, oh no, okay, I'm going to do one more week here. If it's not going to work out, at least I tried, but I'm going to go back. No, you didn't try it. You didn't go full on, you know? So, and that's a huge difference.
There's a term that I use in my coaching, but it's from aviation. It's called the point of no return.
Oh shit.
So when you leave on a plane, there is a certain point in which you no longer have enough fuel to go back to the airport you started off.
Oh shit.
So there is these moments when we make choices in life. Can we lean in and get to the point of no return?
Yeah.
Where we can't go back, because in our head, we create the idea of going back, but life is only forward.
Right.
Which is always, even when I work with people specifically in relationships, say the relationship, at least in their mind, was good, and then shit happened. I want to go back to the way it was. It will never be the way that it was. You have to recreate what you want it to be.
Right.
So take the things that you love about the way it was, but now we have to put it in the future, because it will never be that way again, because that's not how life is. We can't go back. It can't be like, I want to be like it was when I was 5. I was like, well, that ain't fucking going to happen.
Well, look at you, how you just walked into what you do. You do coaching.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, my man. So how that happened, how long it's been, and as like we discussed things before, like you mentioned about the things, the values you want to fight for, and this is a great. I'm guessing that's what you do with your coaching as well.
Yeah. So the essence of yoga is connection. Like the word yoga is rooted in the Sanskrit word called yuj, Y-U-J. And that means to yoke. It's literally the yoking of like the field ox to plow. So it yokes the plow to the ox, so that when the ox goes forward, it plows the field. Like that is what.
It's not the egg yolk.
Not the egg yolk. Spelled the same though.
Is it?
No, maybe it's Y-O-K.
You're talking to someone who's English
not
third language. So
not the egg yolk. The yoking.
Yeah.
The connecting, the bringing into union.
Right.
And there's a lot of different ways we can look at connection.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
One of the areas that it talks about for connection is how we connect deeper to Atman, our true self, to connect deeper to Brahman, this infinite everything else around us.
And Brahman, that is infinite.
Brahman is the yoga philosophical term for the universe.
Oh, okay.
So Atman is our true self. So Brahman is everything else, including us.
Yeah.
And so the one way I love to describe it is we are Atman, which is the wave in the infinite sea that is Brahman, the universe.
Wow.
So
blowed me away.
So we want to. So the essence of yoga is to connect more to Atman. And I realized when I got deeper into yoga and I blew everything up, blew my marriage up, blew my career up, and now I'm hanging out in Bali trying to figure out what the fuck am I doing in my life. I look back and I realize like, I lack the ability to take ownership in my life. It was my ex-wife. It was my parents. It was my teachers. It was my boss. It was my account. It was all these things outside of me. And I realized like, I was going through some of my deeper, depressed, anxious, fucking panic, anxiety-filled times because I was disconnected from myself. So let's take ownership. I can want a better boss. I can want my parents to act this way. I can want my brother to act this way. I can want my wife to act this way. Or I can look at it and be like, how do I connect deeper to myself and figure out what the fuck do I want to do? How do I take ownership of my life? I literally wake up in the morning. I'm going to swing my feet on the side of my bed and I'm going to thrust. I'm going to thrust into the day. I'm going to step into the day. What am I going to do today to connect to me on a deeper way? And then that fosters the connection to everything else. So I looked at that and I realized how potent that was. And I love teaching yoga, which is the physical asana with a little bit of sprinkling of the truth bombs on top, salt-based style. But I was like, I want to go deeper. And there's so many people that'll always be like, yoga's not for me. I'm not flexible. I'm just like, well, then let's move into a coaching container. And the coaching for me, I do one-to-one. I'm launching in the process of launching my first group program, which is actually called Own It. How can you be the leader of your own life? But I looked at it. I'm like, let's take this journey, which was my journey of yoga, to connect to true self the best I can, to then use that as the foundational pillar to then begin to connect to deeper to the other things. So whether it's I want help with my business. I want to improve my relationship. It's like, okay, we got to come back to self, internal, and then we go back external.
Yeah, the own it concept is, I really like that part. And also from what you're saying, like for me, one of the difficulties is to also identify what I want in a relationship. I'm very quick to say what I don't want in a relationship, you know, and you probably heard this before. Maybe you had a battle with this before as well, because like, you know, in the relationship right now I'm in for last 3, almost 4 months. And this is also like we already been before together and then we broke up and now we're back. There's so much we're like working on things. And part of me says, well, isn't that like weird that we need to work on relationships? If 2 people are meant for each other, shouldn't it be all easy, right? So I would say that to my girlfriend and she says like, maybe, like I don't have an answer, but the thing is like we're not perfect. None of us are. And there are certain things that we need to work on. And then the first thing is to own our shit. You know, I have to own that I have, you know, issues with intimacy or showing intimacy, showing affection, showing, you know, that kind of thing. And I would say like, no, I don't. No, I don't have it. Like I totally go in denial, like, fuck, I don't. And then I like, you know, hour later or 2 hours later after the argument, I just go, fuck, I do. In a big time. And so, yeah, that is really beautiful concept and more people should learn about it. So when did you start this, the journey of coaching, and how did you decide that, like, because like, you know how it is in Bali, especially like coaching, like, oh, the coaches everywhere, this and all this stigma, right? Going to with, and actually I had a podcast just recently, I released podcast with my friend Laura. So she's coach, but she's the coach for people who are struggle with their career, mindset coach. So she's about mindset coach and specifically for careers, right? And even if like they have issues with business and all that stuff, and we discussed these concepts. So yeah, so for you to getting into it and like, what are the things were you concerned about? And
so to be honest, being in Bali was the biggest detractor from coaching. Because all these motherfuckers out here coaching this, that, or ever, I was like, you couldn't coach your way out of a fucking paper bag. And
that's a combo you get.
Yeah. So it definitely made me judge coaching. And I didn't even want to, I was like, oh, what can I call myself that's not a coach? Because I don't want to be associated with all these fucking snake oil salesmen.
Someone who's 22 years old, this does the life coaching for you.
I was like, go live life and then figure out how to coach life.
That's the biggest one.
Or the funniest thing is when people, I'm like, I'm a blank coach. And now that I've been a coach for a year, I'm going to coach others on coaching.
Yeah.
Like I did it for a year and now I'm going to help you become a coach because I wasn't that good at being a coach.
One of my very first guests on podcast, like 3 or 4 years ago, was that guy.
Yeah.
I met him somewhere, and like, honestly, like lovely guy, but like half a podcast, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about.
So that my biggest delay was the judgment. Like, but that's also my ego, because it's like, you know, there's shitty people at fucking everything. But it is the challenge is that Bali has a high density. Where 99% of this world doesn't even know what a coach is.
Right.
I decided to pick a place where 99% of the people around me are coaches.
Or digital nomads.
Yeah, exactly.
Or OnlyFans.
Oh my God.
Don't even start me to go that way.
Oh my God, that is... Oh, anyway, coming back to it. So I would say that I said I was going to be a coach and may or may not have included human connection coach on my Instagram like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And there is an aspect of the way that I teach yoga that is, I look at it as a supporting people in connection, empowering them. So I do say that there is a coaching element to how I teach and run my trainings.
Right.
And I've been running those. I actually have some students that are being like, it feels like we're doing life coaching, not yoga. And I'm like, same. I mean, the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita are like a 4,000-year-old OG self-development book. Like if you read, I literally have the Yoga Sutras in my bag right here. You read it, it's the foundation of psychology and coaching. Who am I? Why is my fucking mind full of bullshit? How do I clean my mind out? focus on who I am, and fucking move through life.
You see, I want to throw in quickly. I did Kung Fu for 2 years in London, and our Shifu, every time after the session, we would sit in a circle and he would throw some wisdom at us about diets, about foods, about all sorts of things. And it was like, and he was also doing Chinese medicine, like a really well known, like there was queues like trying to get him. But the idea that if you do a physical training and stuff, I think it's so hand to hand with like telling about the life concepts and like what is important, what's not important. You know, even like when we in Bali MMA, we go CNC, strength and conditioning, doing like our coach at the end says like, yeah, eat some protein, you fucks. Like you do your exercise, but if you don't sleep and don't eat protein, like, you know, but I believe, and also what I want to add, that if you really believe that this is what you want to do, none of these other things matter. Like how many people you think, and for you as well, probably like, oh, podcast, another podcast, like what the fucking, there's so many podcasts, but it's like, I don't give a fuck. I love the concept of the two people come over, talk about subjects when interesting. I always learn new shit. Fuck you all. Like, you know, I'm just going to do my thing.
Because you trust.
Exactly.
You trust.
And it's like, and no matter what, I'm going to figure out my equipment. I figure out I can do what I want to do. So, and then eventually people, oh, he means it. You know, because the problem is like, just like with the life coaches, like there's so many who jump on that fucking train and they're like, oh, I'm going to be cool too, you know, or like Bitcoin or whatever the fuck is what is trending. But if you're honest and you're sincere with what the fuck you want to do and you come from that, all due respect.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
So yeah.
So where were we before that?
Yeah, so and then how long it's been now?
So I would say like
this?
really stepping into coaching has been, what are we in? It's probably been about a year and a half of like it being a focus of mine, but you really realize that like I am my own worst enemy because as confident as you appear to, as others might see you, we're human. And as human beings, we have our stories. And one of my biggest challenges still from the corporate world, and I actually just wrote about this the other day. Actually, I posted on LinkedIn for the first time ever. Actually went on to LinkedIn for the first time since I quit my job 7 years ago.
If I would have a dinosaur sound, I would put dinosaur sound for LinkedIn.
But it was, I put my heart and soul into my corporate career. I was like a fucking slave to that shit. Waking up at 5 a.m. with anxiety and stress, and then just pushing myself through every single day to try to be enough to make it, to be successful, whatever it was. And it's been 7 years since I quit my corporate job, but one of my biggest impacts on my coaching business is the last time I put my heart and soul into something, it chewed me up and spit me out. And there's a fear to put my heart and soul into something again. So I am my own worst enemy in that journey. So, but I'm also very selective of who my clients are and how many I go on. So I would say the business is small, but part of it because it allows me to show up more fully for the clients that I do have. And partially because, hey, I'm also I'm a key saboteur to why it isn't huge.
Yeah, but you see the big difference between when you say corporate, you put your heart and soul into it with all the anxiety stuff, right? And then if it doesn't work out there, you know, like, well, it didn't work out. But if you put heart and soul in things what you believe into, like you learn from that. You grow as a person. You know more how to do things what you really want to do. Just like for me, you know that I've been doing stand-up for how many years in Bali. So like the first couple sets were shit or whatever. And afterwards you learn, but that idea that you can make people laugh. And it's like this amazing, you know, adrenaline and all this satisfaction. So it's worth it to fight for that shit.
So here's my biggest challenge. My mom says this to me, and this is actually not a gloat. This is like, so let me get through it before you make the cheesy comment that you're about to make after my first sentence. My mom says, your biggest problem in life, Chris, is that you're successful. So whatever you're going to do has worked and will work. You have to choose what you want to go all in with. And so for me, like I'll use stand-up comedy as an example. I've never had a bad set. I may not have also had, like, I've never put enough energy in it to have like the drop in the mic set.
Yeah.
But I've always had a good set because it always was like, I play it out in my head and I'm like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. Like, it could have been better, but it's always going to be good. And so for me, what one of the big challenges is there's the story of you went all in and it chewed you up and you spit you out. But at least you had the feeling of like, even though I took it all personally, like every loss that I ever had in the corporate world, I took it personally. Like I wasn't enough. But I always had in the back of my head the knowing that it's the company, it's the product. There's something, it's not me.
You can blame someone else, basically.
Yeah, a little bit. But there is also, because you're not your product. You're just the one selling the product. But then now there is this feeling of like, I don't have any armor on. There's no mask. So it's just Chris Walker and his fucking raw self that is sharing his heart in his coaching, in his teaching.
Shit.
And then if someone's like, fuck that guy, you're like, I didn't have the armor on. Like that fucking hurts.
My boss.
So that there we have the challenge. But then coming back to what we even talked about earlier, it's like I am taking ownership of what my craft is and recognizing I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
And you shouldn't be everybody's cup of tea.
And I'm okay with that. I do think I'm a pretty quality cup of tea, but I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
It's a different taste out there.
Some people might also be like, I don't fucking like tea.
Yeah.
So then they'll never like me if I'm tea.
Exactly. Like this is the same with the relationship. You can't be everyone's type, you know, and everyone can't be your type. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the most important is that you have happiness of what you do, you have the satisfaction, and you can improve other people's lives and quality of their lives. Fuck yeah. Just need to go with. But let's go a little bit more in detail. Like, so how exactly the coaching works and how do you even get into it, and how do you find your clients, and how does that work?
A lot of my clients, it's funny, a lot of my clients come from yoga. Someone's like journeying through Bali. They come to a class, something fucking pops up and whatever the hell goes through my head and out of my mouth. People ask me like, what'd you say about blank? I was like, I have no idea what just happened in class. Because I make all my classes are intuitive. There's nothing really planned except you start sitting down and you end sitting down. Everything else is just shaking the dice, seeing what comes out in a very intentional, methodical way. There's a philosophy that I have. But a lot of my clients, something pops up in there through Instagram, through my podcast, and there's some sort of something resonates with it. So that's where my clients are. Then the funny thing is like all my one-to-one clients have all been women. Or I used to do men's work. I used to do men's circles, and I want to work with men. And the men, so many students have like, I want you to work with my brother. I want you to work with my son. I want you to work with my husband. So many connections. But men. Not really. There are men that are open to being helped, but you cannot tell a man this guy's going to help you. Yeah. That's the first way. They don't even reply to the group. They'll literally start a group message with, "Hey, wanted to introduce you to Chris. Oh, he's just a really good, normal guy, and I think he could really blank, blank, blank. Hey, man, dude, super good to meet you. It's hard to like get super dropped in, like just the way that I would normally talk. But I'm like, hey, man, I'd love to just have like, hey, let's get 15 minutes to just chat and see if we enjoy chatting and see where it goes." Crickets. But I do feel that like we're gonna work. The men are coming. We'll see how that goes. But my main way that I work is in a 4-month container where we do 17 sessions. It starts off with a big kickoff, and then we do 16 weekly. Sometimes they start off at twice a week, and they fade to like once every other week. But my one-to-one program is called The Remix, and it was actually inspired by a yoga class where my playlist was on repeat. So it repeated the first song of the playlist, and I didn't realize it for 45 minutes.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, my playlist, there's an arc of the class. So like when we get in the middle of the class, and it's hot, it's sweaty, we're like, the beat's bumping, it's live. And all of a sudden I was like, this song's super slow. This isn't be playing right now. What the fuck is going on? And I look over and I look at my thing and I'm like, Soul Rising. This is the first song. And I looked at it, I was like, is this song been playing for 45 minutes? Like, yeah, I think so. Like, why didn't anybody say anything? And they're like, it's your playlist. But you guys know this doesn't make any sense. I would never do that. But then that moment began to be like, There's always a song going on. Because we're living a song that is the story of our life. But when we're so in it, we don't hear it. And if we don't hear it, we don't even know if we like it. We don't even know if it's true. So I've been like, so we're living a song and that song is the story of our life. Are we sitting around waiting for someone else to create the playlist, to be the producer? Or can we be the producer of our own life and make the remix? So how do we hear our song? How do we decide, do I like this song? Do I like this part of the beat, that part of the beat? Oh, what part of the beats do I want to add? What do I want to take away? What lyrics do I want to change? And how do I have the power to hit the play button and live the new song that is the story of my life, also known as the remix?
Boom, bro. That was deep. You just dropped some wisdom.
Boom.
You just should be a politician. Just quickly go through. No. But you stayed on the subject. Sorry, no. Politicians don't stay on the subject.
Yeah.
No, that is true. I mean, power to you, man. Makes sense. And the most important, if you feel like all the dots are connecting and all that shit makes sense. And like yoga, I wanted to comment earlier, like it's a perfect front for you to introduce you. You know, people can see, this guy, the way he speaks, the way he does, he stands for his talk and all that. It's perfect. It's much better than on Instagram or whatever. I don't know how many people get, through the watching podcasts. But the problem now, there's so many podcasts out there. How many, you said like you listen maybe 1-2 podcasts. Like I listen only one podcast still for how many years, right? So but yoga is perfect. And you talk to them and you drop some bombs of wisdom and stuff, and they can even just ask you one little question and you give them a little advice, and then next thing you know, so did you like what you got? Let's go have a chat. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And I think the reason why men are not thinking that you are their cup of tea, it's most likely because they're a bit intimidated. Like they struggle to go, and they're fine to go hang out with their mates and say to mate like what's going on, right? But if it's a professional mate, like I think it's a different thing going on there.
Yeah, and I mean I'll speak from the I, because I remember these moments for me. If I need to change, that's saying that something's wrong.
Yeah,
and if something's wrong, then the needing to change, the needing to get help means that I'm weak.
Yeah, same thing.
So by me just saying, yes, I need help, that's me admitting that I'm weak. And if I admit I'm weak to you, then how many other people are going to see me as weak? And then the shit that I have, that I've worked so hard for, I'm going to lose.
But it's just the old type of education and looking at things. Like you cry, you're weak. You talk about the, things that you're weak, all that stuff. So one more little break.
Blah, blah, blah. Renars podcast.
So then also remember I was asking you about the movies, the people and the books.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that a little bit, but also I kind of knew, but then you reminded, we met actually in Bali in Muay Thai, right? So Muay Thai for you, it's kind of stopped for a bit now.
So I was Western boxing, but we only have so much fucking time in the day
and energy as well,
and so about. Geez, fucking when we talk about time, when you were talking about how long we know each other, I was like, time is a goddamn warp. I don't know.
It has to be about 5 years.
I turned 40 on Saturday, actually.
Oh, shit.
And
wait, the wrong buttons. Fuck.
Oh, thank you. You guys are too kind. I know, I look good for 40. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh shit, and I changed my voice. Here you go. We're back to normal.
Are you back to normal?
Yeah.
So, but time's a motherfucker. But I got into boxing. And for me, I hate cardio. And boxing was this really fun discipline that sneakily gets you super cardioed out.
Oh, yeah. Boxing I did this morning, even just a basic boxing, dude.
But when I came back, I'd always had this an ex-business partner, actually a complete piece of shit, but we were super close during COVID. We'd always have these discussions about yoga, and he would always be talk about you need more lean muscle. He'd always be trying to convince me it's lean muscle. And I hadn't gone to the gym in 6+ years since I found yoga. And then, I was like, fuck it, fine, let's go. They had this plan. They were doing this hard 3 months in the gym. And I'm like, all right, fuck, let's do it. So I changed my diet. I eat 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. for 3 months, and I put on like 25 pounds, and a good amount of it was muscle, but I went back in the gym. But when you do yoga, you're boxing, and then you put this beginning of your day is like an hour, like a 90-minute strength training session, you're just like, I can't go do fucking boxing. So boxing dropped to like 2 or 3 times a week. And then of course, all the drama with the boxing gyms in Bali. So Bali MMA, you got to be Bali MMA or Team Soma. Can't be both.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everybody leaves Soma. Now you got to be Team Block or this. And all of a sudden I just came back from a trip. They didn't let me pause my membership. So I didn't have a membership. And then I'm just like, I just stopped going. My boxing gloves have been collecting dust for like a year and a half, but I am going to do BJJ tomorrow. My friend Brandon told me to go to, he's like, I'm going to Soma BJJ. I'm like, all right,
dude,
I'll bring the gi.
I was about organizing myself to go tomorrow as well to Bali May. But the reason why I'm sticking still with Bali May, of course, I love Bali May. They were the first gym I started going. I love the people. They're still there, like, you know, Donnie and all the guys. But the main reason is because I'm lazy motherfucker, because there's a swimming pool right there, because the Wanderlust Open swimming pool. So for me, it's literally because I swim every day, and I swim, and then I go do martial arts, and it's like perfect. So even Soma, I did go to Soma for a while. I know Mike, he's a good mate of mine. Like, you know, I don't have any fucking fight in that drama, whatever they have, you know. I just, you know, I like a person, I hang out with a person. I have no issue with that.
Mine was actually because I like Western boxing. When Mike left,
right,
there was the Western, everything was like Muay Thai. Oh, we can change it. But it was just like, I want a fucking Western boxing. And then they did that there. And then it's funny, then MMA started doing it. Now everybody does it, but it's like back then it was just like, I don't want Muay Thai. I want to do Western boxing. Yeah. But I want a coach that coaches boxing, not I'm a Muay Thai person and I can give you some drills to do on your own.
Yeah, that's huge. Like right now in Bali MMA, they have really good.
I know. Is it that Russian dude?
Yeah, Russian dude.
Because I know AK from Bali MMA, then to Soma, and now I know he's there.
Russian dude was giving me shit this morning because I come usually just for pads. He sees me. Renars, you are late again. I cannot give you good pad guy.
Oh yeah, I had that. Yeah, Donnie had that. Donnie and I had a moment around that. I was be like, because I used to do the strength training, and then I'm like, I don't really need to warm up.
Yeah.
And then, you're doing Muay Thai warm up. I'll just kind of do in the corner, and then I'll pad work. Yeah, what do I go with? Let me get my rounds on pads. I know where they're coming from. But at the same time, it's like, oh, please, I'm special. You are special.
I'm very special. I know. Very special needs.
I know. You got
very
that
sparkly.
Get that little blue placard for your car to get the sparkles and short buses.
With the books, I started listening one of the audiobooks. And literally, it's here. I'm listening right now. Daring Greatly.
Yeah,
that was your first book, and I'm listening, and I've listened not even a half. It's a 6 hours book. As far as I understand, the gist of it. Jeez,
I guess this is the session where we're having fun, and here goes Renars. He's having fun. Cheers. All over the face.
I'm not editing this out. This is the best part of this podcast. You see, I told you it's going to be fun part. The third part.
I still say I was having fun the whole time.
Yeah. I know. So it's about, oh God, now we're going to, so listening, it's about figuring out, oh shit, now I forgot like my method. Like you tell me about this.
I was going to say,
you go for it.
Brene Brown's going to be like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
And you see, like, that's the problem with the audiobook as well. You kind of listen, there's 1,000 things happening, 100%. Riding a bike as well.
Which is why I don't even have an active subscription to Audible because I'm just like, I got 14 or 20 books on there and each one of them I've really consumed about 20% of. So you just read it again, listen to it again.
But yeah, twice. That's honestly like if you listen 2 or 3 times, it's good. Yeah.
So Daring Greatly is literally, I love it so much. I literally, for those on video, this is actually Daring Greatly written backwards.
Oh shit.
So when I wake up every morning and I look in the mirror when I brush my teeth, looking back at me is Daring Greatly. So Daring Greatly was actually a speech that Theodore Roosevelt gave. And the essence of the speech is fuck the critic. If you're not in the sand, sweating and bleeding in the arena, I don't give a fuck about your opinion. And I'm going to live life and I might fail. But if I fail, I hope that I fail daring greatly.
Oh, shit.
So it's like, if you can be like, whatever failure is, if I can look back at it and be like, yo, I'll put my 100 in that shit. Then I'm like, that's all we can do. And I'll learn and who knows, I could be bloodied in the sand. At some point, I'll pick myself back up and I'll try again. So Daring Greatly is a book by Brene Brown, and she is a vulnerability and shame researcher before all these things became trending terms. So imagine the person that picks the 2 topics no one wants to fucking talk about before they got cool, and that's Brene Brown. And she's like, she's kind of like my homegirl. She doesn't know me, but we're homies. She doesn't, at some point she'll be on my podcast or I'll be on hers. We're just waiting for the universe to connect us. It'll happen. But so she had a series of 4 books. It was called The Gifts of Imperfection, which was talking about our imperfections and why they're gifts. Daring Greatly, Braving the Wilderness, and there was another one. But they're all about embracing ourselves and our journey. So vulnerability is the key for this one. And it is the story that vulnerability is weakness is what so many of us have in our stories.
Right.
About vulnerability being weakness. But only through vulnerability can we be great. There's no innovation at a business unless somebody's ready to be vulnerable. Unless somebody's ready to be like, hey, I'm going to do some shit that nobody else is doing in the world.
Yeah.
That takes vulnerability. Because how many people are going to be like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
You have to put stuff on the map. If shit goes down, that's it.
To even think about it, we talked about relationships. If you just do everything that you think you're supposed to do, there's no human in it. Versus being like, I'm going to share something that's super deep down real.
Yeah.
Real about me that I want you to know. And guess what? You could hear that and laugh in my fucking face. Or you could be like, I hear you and I love you. But if I never say that, if I never step to that edge of vulnerability, then I'm not really expressing myself. I'm not being me. I'm playing it safe. So for me, that was the journey. I literally, my mom, so I'll tell you this funny story. My mom gave me the book because I want to say it was on Oprah's fucking book club, 2009, maybe even in college. She gives me this book after she read it. That book was with me in college. That book went to the East Coast with me. That book went to the West Coast with me. That book went to Menlo Park. I went to San Francisco. It went to London. It came to Bali. And over that time, I can't even count how many times my mom and or my ex-wife said, you should really read that book, Daring Greatly. And my ex-wife would be like, you should really read that book your mom gave you. So many times in life and never did. I'm in Bali, my first 2 months. My ex-wife got deported. And I had the whole journey of self-love, inner peace. We're in the first peak of those feelings. And I'm like, I go to Paris to help my wife to ultimately be proposed to her. And I read Daring Greatly cover to cover on the plane from Bali to Paris. And I never read. And I read it. And I'm a grown-ass motherfucking man. And I have tears streaming down my face. And I'm just like, oh my God. I thought she wrote this book to me. It was a letter to Chris Walker to help him with his shit. And I'm like, you mean vulnerability isn't weakness? It's a superpower. And oh, fuck.
Wow.
Everything in my life, things were already changing. But that was a pivotal, lean into that tender edge of vulnerability.
Well, that's what, for me, that's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Because when I lived in Canada, in that house, I was staying, the landlord lady, super lovely lady, Sharon, and she was like, listen, there's this Stephen Covey, who is the guy who wrote it. Stephen Covey and Sean Covey, I don't know which one was son and which one was father, Covey family. So they coming to Saskatoon to give this lecture. Again, long story short, so basically she gave me the book. I threw it under the bed. I never read it. And then months later, I basically read his son's book, Highly Effective, 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teenagers. And I read that and was like, wow, sounds so familiar and so good and so easy to understand. And then just all of a sudden, oh shit. I remember that I didn't go to the seminar where she got me for free to see the guy. And I had this book under my bed for this whole time. And then I came home and I read the book and I was like, oh my God. So, and that's very interesting how it's similar, this idea that people are giving you come on. And you're like, fuck it.
Is as corny as it sounds. We read it exactly when we're meant to read it.
Yeah, I'm fine with corny.
Yep.
Okay. So then we had 2 more books was Untethered Soul.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to look into it, and I don't know what to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's not the book.
That's the name of the book.
Shit, that's what it was like. It was like, wait, he gave me 2 titles and he just doesn't want to talk about it. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Okay, give a couple ideas about Untethered Soul.
So Untethered Soul is it's by Michael Singer. He also wrote The Surrender Experiment, which I have not read, and then I think it's Untethered Living is the third book in this like group of them. Untethered Soul, one of the big things is talking about this inner critic that we have. So there's this little voice in our head, and he calls it our inner roommate.
Oh shit.
And so it's funny because we all have a voice in our head. Yeah. And if we make okay, thank God. These are so fucking dirty. Pardon how many F-bombs I
didn't have to say that.
They are. Renars is a dirty, dirty person. No, he's not, Ish.
Wait, that's the...
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He's not ashamed of it. He's going with it.
So we've got this inner roommate. And think about that we always listen to them. We also believe that they're always right. We never fact check them. But if you were to make the inner voice in your head, your inner roommate, a person, would you be friends with them? To think about how many times they exaggerated, how many times they lied, how many times they never were accountable for any of their bullshit, yet we hold them as our dearest fucking friend, and we believe everything that they say all the time. And so how do we begin to understand the relationship that we have with our inner roommate? And there is probably so much more in that book, but that's what I got because I haven't read it. I read it like 7 years ago, but it is one of my favorites. I think I read it for a second time, but it is the untethering of ourself to the inner roommate.
Untethering. What is the definition for the word?
Like a tether would be like a tethering would be like connecting your phone to your computer, so that they're tied together.
So unplugging.
Yeah, unplugging. So how do we untether? I guess I never actually really thought about what the title meant, but if I were Michael Singer and I was saying it now, how do we untether our soul from our ego?
Right. Yeah.
That's a pretty good answer.
Because the things what I just thought about when you said about that roommate, but also how often do we have friends in our life? We kind of we know our values are not aligned and we're not really with them, but they kind of part of our group. And I recently had this experience and I was like, this guy is such a douche. There's so many things what I don't agree with how he operates, right? And I'm like, I still find oh, it's cool. Almost feel like I'm this kid in a school who tries to fit in. I was like, I don't have to. Just walk away,
yep.
And then it is so important that we say that. And some people just have those friends since they're kids, and that always that friend is going to be doing whatever, pushing them down and all that shit. And they're going to be listening to that voice, And the last one, about where I thought it's actually not a title, but it's just a sentence.
I don't want to talk about it. another gift from Mama Walker. So I don't want to talk about it. This is the fun session. This is not a fun topic, but it is one of the most important topics, and it really helped not just change my life, but also change the way that I support all humans, but specifically men. So I don't want to talk about it as a story of male covert and overt depression. And so the concept of covert depression is what almost all of us go through.
Right.
But it's the depression that we hide because we have something else. So instead of being depressed, we have some addiction that keeps us from our depression. So that addiction could be food. That addiction could be the gym. That addiction could be our job. That addiction could be alcohol. But it's something that's quelling the anxiety. Something that's quelling the shit that's going to make us lose our shit, that we just suppress it. So we have that addiction that keeps us from then having overt depression. And overt depression is like when you see a depressed person in a movie, like that guy's depressed.
Right.
It keeps us from that. And one of the essences of this story was the only way to cure covert depression is with overt depression. So the only path, if you were covertly depressed, the only path out of it is to eliminate your numbing tools, your addictions, and then you go from covert to overt, something that's obvious depression.
Right.
Then you can actually do the real work. But if you're covering it up, you can never actually do the work.
Yeah, because there's so many, like, also the comedians are one of the biggest ones. They're like funny, laughing, everything, and they have like actually fucking covert depressed under it, right?
And at a certain point in I was just like, man, suicide is such a challenging thing. When I was actually living in London, the number one cause of male death in the UK, number one was suicide.
That's crazy.
And so when you look at it, I don't have an answer for this, but I often wonder, is whatever was your agent to keep the depression covert,
right,
did it run out? Did its ability to solve the problem in the present moment, did it lose the ability to solve that problem? I don't have an answer for that, and I'm not a subject matter on that. But this book was like, my mom read it because of my dad. My dad suffers from depression. My dad suffers from PTSD from Vietnam, racist South, working in a prison system, so many different things. And so it allowed me to understand myself more, then have a lot of compassion for men. And then one of the things that as a critical aspect of my work that I do with corporate companies, it's something that I'm trying to work on. It's something that's my number one focus for the next 2 years is I want to support and improve leaders' ability to be leaders. And one of the tenets of this book that I talk about is there is a inextricable connection between men who were sexually and physically abused that then sexually and physically abuse. Like men that are what do they call it? Are guilty of domestic violence, children violence, whether it's physical, verbal, whatever it is, like the percentage of them that were abused as children is like nearly 100%.
Yeah. Men who've been hurt, they will hurt other people.
Exactly. It was hurt people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, and looking at that, I began to think about my corporate career, and I began to think about all these fucking bosses that were projecting there, and the shit rolls downhill. And I was like, all right, well, men aren't always abusers, but when shit gets out of control, they would go back to being the abuser. You said your father drank.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, hey, when he wasn't drinking, was he a completely different person sometimes?
In my dad's case, 100%.
Yeah.
He was a totally different person.
So it's like, but then when shit builds up, we then go back. So when stress at work builds up, guess what? How many of our bosses, how many of our leaders, when they were a rep or they were lower on, their boss, I use air quotes for those on audio, abused them. They shit on them. They shamed them. They made them feel like they weren't enough. And then all of a sudden, when they're now the boss and shit hits the fan, whatever that might be, they do the same thing on. Yeah. And so for me, that was a foundational recognition of what abuse, and I use abuse as a broad spectrum term, does to people. And I want so badly to allow the corporate world that was so toxic to me, that shit on me, that shamed me. Like if this Chris Walker, even though I'm a lot calmer because I'm a yogi, man, if I was back in the corporate world, I was like one of these little bitch ass, I was like, I'm going to fucking lay you out on the floor. You talk to me like that again. Like I'll break your fucking neck right now. You think you could, like, who do you think you are? Like I'm a grown ass man. You can talk to me like a grown ass man, or we can go handle this shit in the fucking parking lot.
Full yoga on them. I'm so fucking do the pretzel out of them.
Pretzel.
In it.
But coming back to it. Remix.
Wait, I had the button.
There we go.
Oh shit.
Snap. How can you be the leader you wish you had?
Yeah.
So when you had those moments and those leaders that were there, actually talking about relationships, where we talk about what we don't want, talking about what we do want. Hey, I'm now a manager. I want to be a leader. Who's the leader that I really wanted? What did he look like? Not all. What are the shitty leaders I had, managers I had? What did they do that I don't want to do? What do I wish they had done? And then how do I become that kind of a leader to those people that I'm now
That's
in
a
charge
really good
of?
point. That's a good concept. For sure. Like I was in corporate as well. I worked for Kraft Foods.
Oh yeah.
Trade marketing.
Slanging mac and cheese.
I was trade marketing coordinator for 3 countries: Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. And so what we had was crisps, coffee, and chocolate bars. like similar like to Snicker bars, but like it was like local ones. And my boss was dickhead, like this Lithuanian guy who just, you can see that he has that power or whatever, and then he's just going like every time I do overtime, oh whatever, when I'm in the morning like a 2 minutes late or something, on my ass, shit like that.
Because at the moment, so many bosses, like if we really think about it, the average human being feels out of control and not in power for a huge part of their life. Mm-hmm. So then you get the opportunity to be in power. True. And it's like, I want to take advantage of this power for all the times when I wasn't empowered.
You 5 minutes late. Oh, motherfucker.
It's the bouncer syndrome.
Yeah.
The bouncer at the club that is like, gets shits on by everybody. All of a sudden now he has the red rope and he's like, oh, fucking.
But also for those who used to be bullied in the school, they're cops now. Ooh, that's that's the crazy one. Okay, so those were books. That's awesome. Honestly, the way you talked about them, I definitely need to properly read them. And then we had movies. Remember the Titans? Haven't seen that. Ace Ventura and Gladiator. Let's talk about that one.
Which one?
So Ace Ventura, where Jim Carrey dresses up with a tutu in a psycho house. My favorite fucking scene, or the second favorite, would be where he puts the guy around his neck and pretends that it's a fox whatever thing. I mean, that movie is just so good.
So it's so fucking good. And it's funny when you mention this. I don't even know what my 3 favorite movies are, but those are like 3 favorites that came to mind when I was messaging you back. I remember the Titans for sure is top 3, guaranteed GOAT list. But I really began to think about that because I fucking loved Jim Carrey. And like the mask was a short second. I like almost put the mask on instead. But when I was a kid, like I used to imitate Jim Carrey. Like I could go, smoking. Really? So there were so many things but when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. But I already felt like I was different. And can I really go? So I just did the safe thing, and safety was playing sports.
Right.
Safety was getting good grades, going to college and doing the thing. But I wanted to be an actor. And I actually got called out by a guy sometime during COVID here, and he was deleting something at Tropical Nomad, and he's like, "You're not an entrepreneur, you're an artist." And I was like, "Oh, of course I'm an entrepreneur. I do all the do." He's like, "Yeah, but do you enjoy blank, blank, and blank?" I'm like,
it's so annoying when someone says truth, right?
And then I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, you have an entrepreneurial spirit, but you're an artist. You want to create." And so Ace Ventura: Pet Detective is like, I don't even remember the last time I saw it, but it was such this thing of like, oh my God, it inspired this inner creativity of basically, I don't care how I don't use the R word, but how retarded I look or what anybody thinks about me. I am just going to I'm going to be full on, just love being this character. And then I also love the fact that like everyone thinks Jim Carrey is crazy now. And he's like, I had to put the mask on to now live life without a mask. And I was like, that's so metaphorical and ridiculous on so many different levels. So partially the movie, who I was and what I saw in the movie, but who Jim Carrey was to me and who he is now. And I think he's just epic.
True. And it's one of the things I remember when Jim Carrey Ace Ventura just made it to Latvia. Because around that time, we only watched like Russian comedies, and it was all about intellectual jokes and the wise jokes. And my dad also, like, it didn't help because it wasn't original like translation or whatever. It was dubbed on top of it. So when my dad saw the Ace Ventura, he's like, "What the fuck is this?" He did not understand any of that. Like, this is like a slapstick, stupid stuff, whatever. But obviously it's different when you grow up in the culture and you understand like the jokes and also the language helps too. But for me, Jim Carrey's stuff was amazing. But I wasn't a fan of the Dumb and Dumber. I wasn't. I was like, now I kind of watch it again. Then I was like, oh, I kind of get it, But before that, I was like, kind of very juvenile. I don't know. Anyways.
I loved them all.
Gladiator.
You
know that I did the Gladiator too.
I didn't.
Now you know.
I know.
Yeah.
You and Denzel hanging out?
No, I hanged out with his stunt double, but it was like, yeah, we were shooting it in Malta, and we didn't even see Denzel, like, because like he comes and performs whatever he needs to.
He's OG.
He's OG.
Top notch. So
I did fight the main guy. Did you see the second one?
Yeah.
I fought the actor Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a one scene like where he was like stabbing me and stuff. But I'll just quickly show you the one of the photos from that. I was playing Praetorian. I was playing the Gladiator as well. And
man, the Praetorian as a concept, those people are just like, it's so crazy to just be like, it doesn't matter how much this emperor sucks. You are literally his personal army.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Because I studied Latin when I was in high school. And like, so I studied Roman history. And like, it's just like mind blowing.
Well, yeah, about his history stuff. Like sometimes you look at it like, what the hell was going on? And also like just people going and kill each other for a laugh of it or whatever. It's like, oh, here you go. That was me, Praetorian.
You know what? I didn't know what movie you were in, but I definitely have seen that photo of you.
And doesn't help that there's a big sign saying Gladiator 2.
I just saw that. I just saw it. Renars looks old.
It literally says the sign right next to me, Gladiator 2.
No, why is he so fucking angry right now?
Because I'm a character. I'm
stole
playing
his lunch.
Praetorian. I'm like, get to the chopper. Get to the boat. But anyways, yeah, so the first one, I haven't seen the second one yet, but I don't hear very amazing kind of reviews and stuff.
I'll give you my take on it. I saw it with my girlfriend in Denmark over Christmas. Gladiator 1 was so epic. It was never going to be that. You can't replace Russell Crowe. So whoever was the son of whatever the main character was in Gladiator 2.
Oh, the main character, I don't know the name, Lucius.
Like he was never going to be Russell Crowe.
No.
And you've got this sneaky Denzel, and people don't realize that he's a main character the whole time. Like he is like a supporting role what he does as his character, but he's like the main character, but he doesn't appear to be the main character because he's in the shadows.
Yeah.
And then these two dipshit fucking emperors, like they had to be unlikable. So, I appreciate that they came out with a pretty solid storyline for it. It was never going to be the first one. I would say it was enjoyable. I'm glad I saw it. I would never watch it again. I would just don't have 5 hours of my life to give away again. Yeah. But coming back to the first one, I laugh because of its historical inaccuracies. But Marcus Aurelius is like, top dog ever. Just his work in the Stoics, his meditations, and he's also, I think he was the last of the 5 good emperors. So are you familiar with the 5 good emperors?
No.
So the 5 good emperors, so the emperors or the empire of Rome was, this, I am the emperor and I've been given the divine right. And then I have a child, my oldest son, God has given him the divine right to be the emperor.
Oh, shit.
And that's how it goes on and on. But the 5 good emperors, which was like Rome's golden age, decided not to just give it to their oldest. They actually decided to choose and groom who was going to be best for the empire. The real story is Marcus Aurelius was the 5th one, and he fucked it up. He gave it to his son, who then took Rome on the wrong course. Now, the movie makes it seem like he was going to give it to Maximus, and then his son killed him and took it. But in real life, he gave it to his son and then fucked up the whole empire. But coming back to it, you just look, when I look at a character and I look at Gladiator or the Russell Crowe character, he's just so much integrity. Just so much integrity. And he doesn't even want to fight. And after the Rome fucked him, they literally hung his kid up on the thing. And to think that he knew all this shit, but yet he served. And then at the very end, he like is in there and he's like helping, like the way they orchestrate that first major fight scene in the arena. You're just like, man, it's just like so fucking lovable. You're just like, And when you think about life, life always has these dare to be great situations. And you think like, I look at a lot of different characters. I got half of them tattooed on my leg that I think of people that inspire me, but you're just like, if I had a dare to be great situation, like could I choose like what Maximus would have chosen?
Yeah.
Like to just be like putting my life on the line because Marcus Aurelius had a dream. He had a dream of Rome to be this republic ruled by the people for the people. It's like,
but also like after, you know, his family was butchered, like I think he was just, all I get left are the principles I live by.
Yeah.
You know, and that gives such amazing kind of a schooling lesson to young boys as well. Like as a young boy watching that, growing up in countryside, you know, like there's a sword, there's this, and there's like, it's about strength and it's about getting each other's back, like how they were fighting with other gladiators. And it was like, yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the scene where he goes and brushes the freaking...
I'm so fucking glad Joaquin Phoenix died in that shit. I'm so glad he got stabbed.
Yeah,
I was like, please let him die.
Yeah.
And that's actually, to be interesting, like talking about acting, where it's just like, man, like what is it like to be an amazing actor and play the bad guy?
Yeah.
Where people are like, fuck you. They see you on the street, they're just like, you played that role so good that people hate you.
Yeah.
They hate you.
That is the, like, as a kid, like, I couldn't understand. I was like, I hate this guy. And then you're just like, wait, he's an actor. What the fuck? He's doing his job.
Oh, man.
Like that King Joffrey, that character.
Oh, my God.
From Game of Thrones.
So happy he died.
Poor kid afterwards, like, he had so much hate and stuff. Like, you're so happy that the character died, okay?
Character died. Like when Peter Dinklage shot his dad with a crossbow, I'm like, got him. Hate the Lannisters.
Oh, Peter Dinklage. Fuck. Just recently we were talking about him. Such a good actor. Did you see that movie where that's the funeral? All the blacks had a funeral, and Peter Dinklage was playing that. He's the
short guy.
Short guy. So he was playing the lover of this father who dies, but no one knows about it. It's a really sick movie. You have to check it out. Don't remember the title, but basically, long story short goes, so they didn't want to pay him money. Instead, they somehow by mistake drugged him, this character, Dinklage character, and thought that they killed him and put in the same casket with the dead father, but the guy wasn't dead. And so in the middle of like eulogy, it's just like bah bah bah, and he jumps out all like fucking drugged and fun. What the fuck is going on? And
what about Remember the Titans? To be honest, that's the only movie that almost makes me cry.
Really?
Because when I watch that movie and I look at Denzel in that movie and I look at that was like my dad. So my dad grew up in in the segregated South, and they integrated schools when he was in high school. So he actually had to go from the all black school, they integrated, and then he went to an integrated school, and the coach of the basketball team was the white coach. So they didn't bring in like a Denzel character. It would have been like the white coach would have stayed. And he didn't let any of them, my dad or any of his friends, play. So they all quit. And then the principal at the school found out that they quit and asked them why they quit. And he's like, coach is racist and he won't play any of us. So the high school principal came and forced the coach to make my dad and his friends scrimmage the starters, and they scraped them. They beat their ass so bad, and they all started. And they got second place in the state tournament in the state of Missouri, and from a 500 person town in southern Missouri that you wouldn't know if you drove past it. You would drive right through the city. You wouldn't even know you were there. So when I see that, I just like, there's a piece of me as somebody that's mixed race, when mixed race wasn't a term. When I was a kid, you were just black. Yeah. But when you were with black people, they were like, you're white. So you just never really felt like you fit in. But then to see like this movie and just to see, I don't know, there's such a power in Denzel had to play it perfectly, not just as the character, the actor, but that character that he played had to show up in integrity, and the weight of every black person on that team was on his shoulders. And if they lost once, they were out. But then you see the power of like when you see people's true souls, like that, the assistant coach in the moment, which they try to fuck him over. They got the refs and everybody, they were going to throw the game. Denzel loses the game, and then Denzel's fired. And the other coach, who would then take the team back over, it was rightfully his, basically says, I'm going to go to the papers. I'm going to expose everybody. And the referee's like, then you'll bury yourself. He's like, so be it. And it cost him being elected to the Virginia State High School Football Hall of Fame, because he called him out. He's like, you are not going to fuck over this coach and my team like this. And they took the Hall of Fame away from him. because of it. But he stood up for his integrity. And that movie, just like every time I watch it, it just
how
like brings
come I
it.
haven't seen it?
It's the best sport movie.
Dude.
It on a non-comedy front, it's the best sport movie that has ever been made.
One of my favorite ones is with Samuel L. Jackson, the Coach Carter. I really
Coach
like
Carter is on there as well. That I literally, it's actually a poem by Marianne Williamson that was in a speech by Nelson Mandela, but it is our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure.
Dude, that one is, yeah. What is your greatest fears? And the kid is like, what the fuck's wrong?
The greatest fear is that I'm not going to live up to my potential.
Wow.
And then by not wanting to live up, and by thinking I'm not going to live up to my potential, then I self-sabotage myself by not even pushing the edge of what my potential can be.
Shit. Wow. Yeah, okay. People. Mom, dad, and big OG Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
So Muhammad Ali actually is really connected. I'll go with him first because, but actually I'll go with him first and then I'm gonna go with both my parents. And I was like laughing to myself. I was like, man, 3 people, and one of them's my mom, my dad, and then let's pick somebody. So Muhammad Ali was rising the ranks of boxing, and in a time in which the world was quite, I don't like to say racist, but it was pretty racist. Really, like there was not a lot of black people in anything. And he rose, and he might have been the most beloved athlete and maybe the most beloved black man in the world. Like he crossed barriers. Like everybody loved him. There was no just the whites loved him or just the blacks loved him. Everybody loved him. And right after he won the belt, champion of the world, best boxer in the world, loved by everybody.
Go to Vietnam now.
He basically was like, he found Islam and decided that he did not want to support the war. And overnight, they took it all away from him. They said, we're going to take your belt. We're going to send you to jail. And he was like, I'm not going to fight in this war, and I don't believe in it. And he's like, if you feel like you have to throw me in jail, throw me in jail. And they did. They fined him. They threw him in jail. They took him to court. But he took a stand for what he believed in. And guess what? They dropped the case. He got out of jail. He won the title again, became the best boxer in the world, and has gone down now as one of the most beloved athletes of all time. And at a moment, he risked all of it for what he believed in.
That is crazy, yeah. That is crazy. I read his biography, his book. Like there was a film as well. It's like that is truly inspirational to look at these kind of people. It's amazing.
You hope that no one's going to say, "Go to jail for what you or betray what you believe in."
Yeah.
But we all have our versions of a dare to be great situation. Are you a man or a human of integrity? Do you stand by your values and what you believe in? And here's a test. What do we do with the test? And I hope, and I'm inspired by a person like Muhammad Ali to be like, I'm gonna keep it 100. My dad is the reason that I am the man that I am today. My dad worked so hard. I mean, I shared some stories about it, but my dad picked fucking cotton. Like they weigh cotton by the pound. And if you didn't know, cotton's not heavy.
No, I know that. Yeah.
If you can imagine picking cotton and soybeans as like a 6-year-old. My dad also was born with cleft palate. So his hard cleft palate. So his jaw, where your jaw comes, the top jaw comes in, it was open when he was born. So that's
why they have the scar.
He has a giant scar right here. This was separated. They had to bring it back. And he grew up in the poor South. So they had to actually go to St. Louis, Missouri for him to even be treated and to be able to fix it. And so from the earliest of stages, life was hard.
Fuck.
And he just never gives up. 20 years in the military, Vietnam, infantry, killing people, stepping over dead Vietnamese soldiers at the age of 18 and 19. It took him 12 years to graduate from university because he would transfer with the military. They keep taking his credits away. He went from picking cotton to raising a lower middle-class family in the United States. And it only is because of his hard work that I was able to know what is possible for my life.
Do you have brothers, sisters?
I have one brother.
Older?
Yeah, 2 years. I have technically two brothers. I have a foster brother and a blood brother. One's 2 years younger, and one is 13 or 14 years younger.
Wait, so your parents had you guys, and then they also took in someone?
Yeah. So I'll wrap it up with my dad, and then this is a direct segue into my mom. This is my mom, why she's amazing. But my dad just worked, but he he also was so there for me and my brother. Like he worked most sometimes 2 full-time jobs. He never missed a baseball game, a soccer game, a football game.
Wow.
He was there in every aspect of my life, showing up, coaching, trying to make me the best, not just the best athlete, but the best human being.
Coaching. So he was coaching team.
He
or
didn't
just
actually want to coach my teams because but he was a coach. But he didn't want to. He was the coach. I'd go to his practices, his games. He usually coached like high school, but he didn't want to be my coach because he never wanted to play favorites.
Yeah.
But he was there, and he was always there. It was like his energy was lifted by being a part of our lives. And I just think what it was like to have a dad like that, a dad that I just knew was there. Now he was a fucking hard ass too. He was a disciplinarian, and I definitely did not think he liked being a dad. And I was definitely not a fan of his for certain points. But it's like there's this saying my brother sent me. It's like my parents spanked me when I was a kid, and now I suffer from a disease that's called having respect for adults. So he was a disciplinarian, but he definitely instilled the ability to have respect, to know who you are, and to show up in integrity.
Right. And then how crazy is the idea about we as a kids thinking that our parents discipline us? We think that they don't love us. We think that they're too harsh on us. Mm-hmm. And like only at certain time of our lives, like when we reach puberty or when we moved out of the house, then we like, fuck, because my parents taught me these whole things like about discipline and being nice, being polite, being like all these things. That's because of the discipline, and then you finally start appreciating that. Yeah, it's crazy how that's huge scene from Denzel plays that father in what was the movie I forget, where his son is asking him like, "But daddy, it feels like you don't love me," and he goes, "I don't love you. I like put the food on table for you. You go to school with the clothes every day. Like this whole speech, like, and you say I don't love you, and then the son was like, and he's like, I don't need to love you. It's my job to." Like something provide or what like to so you have everything basically, right?
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Yeah. So your mom?
So man, actually I don't know if I ever told this story on the internet oh man. So my mom, first off, my mom when I was a kid was always like the safe haven. So anytime shit happened, you tell her and hope sometimes she didn't tell dad, or she would discipline you and it wouldn't be as bad as like dad. My mom used to be an ear twister. So she used to twist my ear when I would do shit. And I'm always
now you have cauliflowers.
Oh my God. She would twist it at the fucking root though. But it would be almost to the extent of trying to find out how to unroll the twist. But man, yeah. Oh, my mom. Yeah. So she was a teacher, and it's just like so many of my early stages, because we couldn't afford to have like a nanny or anything. So it'd be like, my parents were working, but so many times I remember like I spent so much time at her school, like scared of people, like hiding under the desk when I was a kid. But man, my mom and I.
How did you fit under the table?
I was a baby. I was like 5 at that time. But my mom was always my teacher. So my mom was like, she was a math teacher. So that inspired me to get into math early. That's how I really became inspired to want to be an engineer. And I hated to read as a kid. So it's like, all right, science, math, no reading. Let's do it. Perfect. But my mom was the one that always pushed me to intellectually grow. She was the one that told me, hey, you need to start reading or you need to do Latin if you want to get into college. So I took Latin. With that, she was always pushing me to allow my intellect to expand. She always supported me in whatever I wanted to do. And then came the first of many, but the first real moment in which I'm like, my mom saved my life. In my journey to want to be accepted, also my journey to be entrepreneurial. When I was in college, I sold drugs.
Oh shit!
Weed, which is now people are like, that's not drugs, but when I was in college, it was drugs.
It's all about how it was then.
And they viewed them legally. They viewed them the same thing: caught selling weed, caught selling coke. Same penalties. So I got caught selling weed, and I tried to get myself out of it, and very ignorant, but kid. And my mom, I remember put $10,000 on her credit card.
Fuck.
to put a retainer for a lawyer, and she supported me. And I went to court for the better half of 3 years before I actually won the case. And then they appealed it because the DA was pissed that he lost, and they won the appeal. And so I got convicted of a felony. And but it was only because of that support that it lasted that long. So because it lasted that long, I was able to have my first interview for my internship in college, and I was still in, so I could check the box of, no, I've never been convicted of a felony. They run the background check, it was fine.
Because it wasn't convicted yet.
Because I wasn't convicted yet.
So now you have it on your...
No, now it's expunged. So now it's gone.
How many
again.
years?
Oh, this is like 20 years ago.
Yeah, so like, how many years does it take to expunge?
Once you're fully off everything, I think it's like 5 or 6 years.
Oh, that's it.
For certain things. Certain things are unexpungible.
Yeah.
So that happened. And yeah.
And dad never found out.
I told my dad, and oh my God, I told my dad pretended like he didn't hear it. Like 15 years later, I was smoking weed. It's legal now, smoking weed in LA outside of our vacation house. And he's just like, I know you're smoking the pot. You got arrested for that. You're going to go to jail again. And I was just like, I can't believe you remember that. You haven't said anything about that in 15 years. You didn't even acknowledge it. I didn't even know you heard me. I didn't even know you knew that happened. And he just threw it out there one random time, like 5 or 6 years ago. But anyway, back to it. My mom was there for me. And the crazy part about that story is what ended up happening? I got convicted, have a felony, and then I got my job after college. After I graduated, I got a job, and I fill out the entire thing. I get this job offer. I'm going to make like $65,000 a year, which is like, I thought I made it. I thought I was the richest motherfucker on the planet making $65,000 a year out of college. And they have this at the very end. You have to fill out a waiver to get your background check. I filled out the entire application, sent everything in, and I never sent it in. And they never asked for it.
Fuck.
And so my first job that I got, I only got it because I only got it because I was still in court in the appeals process. My second job, the only reason that I got it is because I never turned in to HR the background check form.
Oh, the first one or for the second one?
The first one I wasn't yet convicted. The second one, I didn't fill out the form, and they never asked for it, and I got the job.
And you think they automatically would kick you out if you would have that?
Yep.
Or you don't know, or you
I didn't know, but there was no risk in that.
Fuck. No. But would you think that they would?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. So my mom was just there for me. And over the years, it's just, I don't really remember as a kid, my mom, I know she loved me, but I don't actually remember either of my parents saying, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember that. I don't remember being hugged, but I knew they loved me.
Yeah.
But then since I was in like my late teens through 20s, now I'm in the end of my 30s, my mom has just always been my rock. Like, we talk, I say have the healthiest relationship that does not teeter toward mama's boy, but I love my fucking mom. And so she's always there. She's always dropping a little word of wisdom. She'll literally send me these things. What's the last one? I'll see what she sent. She'll send me they get those notes that you get on, like you can sign up to an email list and they send you random emails with like some sort of words of affirmation or some shit like that. So let's go.
Quote of the day.
Some sort of quote of the day, but let's see what the last one my mom sent me was. Oh yeah, here we go. Daily positivity. Let's not just be thankful for the good things in our lives this week, but also be thankful for all the challenges that made us better. Like, that just came from my mom at 1:25 in the morning. She's no concept of the time zones of Bali, but she'll send it out there. Here's another one. Remember, big opportunities come from doing the small things with big dose of passion, love, purpose, and excellence. Be faithful with what you have and where you are today. Don't chase success. Decide to get better every day. Do great work and success will find you. Thanks, Mom.
My mom sends me pictures of forest and stuff.
There we go.
That's her way of doing it.
My mom's there for me, and she always has been.
That's awesome. And I really appreciate when my guests take as two of the people their parents.
Yeah.
Because that makes so much sense, you know. Listen, we need to wrap it up. It's been
All
almost 3 hours. The last thing I want to ask you, I call it a bomb of wisdom. What is your bomb of wisdom to younger version of yourself? Or also could be addressed to just people who might want to do what you're doing with your life. Like right now, you're having this quite fresh new chapter, I would say, like, you know, being a yoga teacher and pursuing coaching. And so what would you tell to those people? Let's start with younger version of yourself.
Oh.
What would be your bomb of wisdom?
So I always think that I've thought this, and I'm always like, what would the younger version of me? So this is the answer for both of these would actually be the same. But I'm going to say what I would actually tell the younger version of myself is, especially I always thought about like what I would tell 18-year-old or 22-year-old Chris coming out of college, and I'd be like, every single thing you are going to buy for the next 20 years, in 20 years, you're going to wish you had none of it.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's very simple, but it's so true.
I hope he would listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at the shit that I have. I'm like in storage. I'm like the amount of energy and money I've spent in storage units. I'm just like, why did I buy fucking any of it? No one gave a fuck about those Jordans. No one gave a fuck about this. It's like, God, I just wear fucking black t-shirts and these pants all the time. Yeah. And just like the energy that we put into accumulating and moving shit. What could we have done with that?
Yeah. True. Yeah. And like any suggestions to someone who wants to pursue what you're pursuing? So
this is also the information this is what I would also tell the younger version of myself. All the answers lie within.
Oh, shit. Wait, no.
No, don't remix
that. Oh, that works as well, right? Because it's like, shit.
One more time.
Say it again.
All the answers lie within. All the answers lie within. So we're told that it's out there. We're told that the love that we truly want is out there. The success that we need is out there. Something out there is going to define, am I worthy? Am I enough? But it's all in here. I can't go find the love that doesn't exist inside. I can't go find success unless I already have a sense of inner success. It all starts within. Now, the things out there might help us. They can boost us up. Like if you give me a compliment, I'll take that compliment and that'll lift me up and that'll support me. But that compliment is going to wear away. Yeah. And if I'm not rooted in believing that I'm enough, in believing that I'm worthy, if I don't listen to myself, if I'm not connected to who I am, everything else is just going to fade. It's never going to be enough. True. Listen, let's finish on this high note. Cheers, buddy. Thanks again for coming over. Man. The last thing you need to do, a little bit more dancing. A little bit more dancing. Oh, look at that camera. Look at that camera. Look at that camera.